Chapter 302. The person handing over the missions could only say helplessly, "Then there is no problem. I will give you the mission contracts later. There are 2 copies. After you sign them, you can leave." After doing all this, Xiaochen glanced through the 20 mission contracts and placed them in his universe ring. Then, he returned to the hall. In the hall, a group of core disciples walked towards Xiaochen. Their faces were filled with rage, but none of them dared to take a step forward. In the past, when Xiaochen was only an inferior grade martial saint, he dared to fight against the people from Gangyu Peak. Now that his strength had improved so much, he would not be afraid of them. Xiaochen looked at the 20 to 30 people blocking his way. He said indifferently, "Can you move aside? I want to go out." The person leading them was a core disciple of Qianduan Peak. His name was Zhang Sheng. He was a superior grade martial saint, but he had not reached the peak. It seemed like he was the leader of this group. "Yi Chen, with your strength, we have nothing to say if you want to take a high-ranked mission. We just want to ask if you can take out your mission contracts for us to take a look so that we can redistribute them," Zhang Sheng said. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He felt it was funny. Why did he have to show his mission contracts to others? "Sorry, I can't. There is no need for me to tell you the missions I took. I am in a rush, will you move aside or not?" "You." Zhang Sheng was flustered. He had already lowered his stance, yet the other party did not give him any face. Seeing that the other party was not willing to move aside, Xiaochen felt some anger in his heart. He stared at Zhang Sheng and interrupted him. He said coldly, "Will you move aside or not?" Zhang Sheng looked at Xiaochen's cold gaze and thought of the battle between him and Murong Chong. He immediately lost his confidence. He clenched his fist and retreated to the side with an unwilling expression. Seeing Zhang Sheng retreat, the other core disciples behind him with weaker cultivations sighed and took the initiative to make way for Xiaochen. Ignoring the expressions of the crowd, Xiaochen quickly left the hall of contributions and disappeared from everyone's sight. "Bastard, he actually took 20 black-ranked missions and only left 10 for us," Zhang Sheng said angrily after he and the others went up to the 2nd floor. Xiaochen could not hear the angry voices of these people. Even if he could, he would ignore them. A bunch of trash. Did they really think that the Hall of Contributions was their home and that they had to accept all the missions in it? After Xiaochen left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he took out the mission contract and flipped through it. He said indifferently, "Let's start from the closest one. I found this one. Recently, Clear Breeze City has been harassed by a peak rank 6 spirit beast. There are countless deaths and injuries." Clear Wind City was a small city in the Shiha province. It was about the same size as Mo City, where the Shao clan used to be. The strongest cultivator in the city was only a superior grade martial saint. Even with the strength of the entire city, they would not be able to eliminate this peak rank 6 spirit beast. Every time a rank 6 spirit beast appeared, it would disrupt the order of the city. After taking out the map and ascertaining the direction to Qingfeng City, Xiaochen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. He turned into a purple beam of light and rushed at full speed. 3 days later, with Xiaochen rushing at full speed, the silhouette of a small city appeared in his vision. When Xiaochen saw this city, he smiled faintly, "They are finally here. Let's end this quickly, it is just a peak rank 6 spirit beast." When Xiaochen entered the city, he saw 5 wanted posters on the city walls. Xiaochen could not help but stop and take a look. The wanted posters all showed his previous appearance. They were posted by the Duanmu clan and Hua clan, the Nanling province's Ji clan, the Shiha province's Yan clan, and the royal court's Gi Marquis. The bounty for each clan was at least 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. Added together, it was 6,000 medial grade spirit stones. Such a horrifying amount would make any cultivator feel tempted. "Young hero, after looking at it for so long, do you have any news of this person?" the city lord's residence guard in front of the wanted posters asked. Xiaochen smiled faintly, "No, I am just curious." The guard smiled and said, "Everyone is the same as you. When they first saw him, they were all astonished. This brat actually offended the 4 noble clans. He even offended the royal court's Guy Marquis. If an ordinary cultivator offended any of the clans, they would be in trouble. However, this brat seems to have offended half of the powers in the great Qin nation. However, it is strange. This brat has not appeared for close to a year. It is like he disappeared from the world. This caused the noble clans to increase their bounties. As long as we know where this person is, we will be able to obtain 10,000 gold taels and 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. If I see this person, I will be rich. I will no longer have to work in the city lord's residence. Xiaoqin smiled gently and said, "You will have the opportunity to see him." After Xiaoqin spoke, he did not linger. He entered the city gates and quickly headed for the city lord's residence. After Xiaoqin reported his intentions to the guards, they immediately let him in and left him in the side hall. Xiaoqin sat on a wooden chair. Just as he finished drinking a mouthful of tea, he heard urgent footsteps. The door opened with a zhi sound. 2 middle-aged men entered. They were superior grade martial saints. However, the person on the left had a more profound cultivation. His aura was also much stronger than the person beside him. When Xiaoqin looked at the attire he was wearing, he should be the city lord of Clear Wind City. The person beside him should be his assistant. The city lord of Clear Wind City originally had an excited smile on his face. However, when he saw Xiaoqin, his expression immediately sank. He asked doubtfully, "Are you really a cultivator sent by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Why is your cultivation so low? Furthermore, you are alone. Are you a fake?" Xiaoqin smiled faintly. He did not get angry or anxious. He showed his identity token to the city lord and took out the mission contract. He said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion Core Disciple, Qingyun Peaks Xiaoqin. The contract and identity token prove that I am the real deal." The city lord's assistant said angrily, "What is the point of sending a medial-grade martial saint? There are many people in Clear Wind City waiting for you to save them. There is no need for your Heavenly Saber Pavilion to brush us off like this." Boom! Boom! As the few of them spoke, the ground suddenly trembled. The Clear Wind City lord's expression could not help but change. He said, "Oh no, that black flame snake is coming again. Let's leave quickly." Hu Qi. A strong wind blew by the two of them. Xiaoqin took the initiative to open the door and leave. By the time the two of them chased after him, they could not even see Xiaoqin's shadow. The city lord said in astonishment, "What a fast speed. Could we have made a mistake?" The assistant at the side curled his lips and said, "So what if he is fast? The skin of that black flame snake is even harder than frost iron. You and I are superior grade martial saints, yet we are unable to break its defense. How could he, a medial grade martial saint, do it?" Xiaoqin executed the gravity spell and quickly flew towards the source of the sound. After a while, he discovered the spirit beast that was causing the commotion. He saw a 3-meter-wide black flame snake quickly burrowing out of the ground on the wide streets of the city. It spat out black flames from its mouth, burning the surrounding houses to ashes. The people on the streets were all terrified, running for their lives in all directions. Peak Rank 6 Black Flame Snake. Xiaoqin recognized the spirit beast's name with one glance. He said indifferently, "However, it is only 200 years old. It is far from fully maturing. It is far from the 1,000-year-old scarlet crown snake in the underground world." Peak Rank 6 spirit beasts had differences in strength. Aside from the difference in bloodline, the age of the spirit beast determined its strength. The longer it lived, the more horrifying its cultivation would be. If this was a 1,000-year-old black flame snake, even a martial king would have trouble dealing with it. A 200-year-old black flame snake was not even comparable to the black tuna whale that Xiaoqin encountered in the past. It could be dealt with easily. Xiao. When Xiaoqin saw a clump of flames shooting at a little girl, he no longer hesitated. His figure flashed and he immediately landed on the ground. He carried the little girl in his embrace and quickly turned around. Bang! The black flame struck Xiao Chen and exploded. A shockwave surged and instantly engulfed Xiao Chen. This caused everyone to take in a deep breath of cold air. After the flames scattered, everyone was astonished to discover that the blue-robed Xiao Chen was completely fine. Thank you, young hero, for saving my daughter. A middle-aged woman quickly ran over and took the little girl from Xiao Chen's embrace. Then, she thanked him profusely. Xiao Chen said, "There is no need to thank me. Leave quickly, this place is very dangerous." After Xiao Chen spoke, he sent out a gentle energy and enveloped the two of them, pushing them to a safe distance. Hu Qi. Just as Xiao Chen withdrew his hand, the 200-meter-long black flame snake finally emerged from the ground. Its body soared into the air. It opened its bloody mouth and charged at Xiao Chen. Its sharp teeth gleamed with a cold light, and strands of black qi lingered around it, making one tremble in fear. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He circulated his qi and took a small step forward just as the huge snake's mouth was about to land. With a loud roar, he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the snake's neck. Boom! There was a dull sound and the black flame snake's huge body immediately tumbled backward. It smashed into the rocks on the street and shattered them. Xiao Chen did not hold back in this punch. After the dragon and tiger body sculpting art reached the threshold of the 5th layer, he had already achieved 10,000 kilograms of force. How could his opponent endure this? As the black flame snake rolled over, it swung its huge tail ferociously. Drawing the saber. A resplendent saber light lit up and the black flame snake's body, which was as hard as frost iron, was neatly cut in half. Scarlet blood spurted out in the air, and the 3-meter-long snake tail fell to the ground. Glittering Wukuei. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and thunderclouds instantly gathered. He flicked his wrist 9 times and 9 strands of purple saber qi struck the black flame snake, leaving horrifying wounds on its body. The black flame snake writhed on the ground in pain, wailing in pain, leaving behind horrifying wounds. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the black flame snake rolled on the ground in pain. When the Clear Wind City Lord and his deputy rushed over, they happened to see this scene. They were astonished. The deputy, who had just said that Xiao Chen would not be able to break the black flame snake's defense, immediately felt his face heat up. He muttered, "How can this be? He is clearly only a medial-grade martial saint. How can he break the black flame snake's defense?" Chapter 303. The Clear Wind City Lord looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and entered deep thought. He said sullenly, "He is different from us. No wonder he is so confident. This person is a cultivator who comprehended a state. Furthermore, his attainments in states are not low. That ordinary drawing the saber earlier is even stronger than a superior grade earth-ranked martial technique when infused with his state. The density of his saber qi is also stronger than ours. It is comparable to an inferior grade martial king. It looks like Clear Wind City is saved this time," the Clear Wind City Lord said with an excited smile. The black flame snake on the ground curled up into a ball, looking like a small mountain. Its cold eyes flickered with a red light as it stared at Xiao Chen. The black flame snake flicked its red tongue continuously, trying to capture Xiao Chen. It opened its mouth wide and the surrounding fire-attributed spiritual energy quickly surged towards it. A huge black fireball appeared and spun continuously. When the horrifying heat reached its peak, the black fireball surged towards Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Playing with fire before me? You are far from good enough. Go back." A fierce purple flame burned continuously in Xiao Chen's right eye. He did not condense it, he just let it pour out. The purple flame immediately surged like a roaring river. Boom! The surging purple flame immediately swallowed up the black flame that the black flame snake spat out. The surging flames seemed boundless. In an instant, the black flame snake cried out miserably as it rolled on the ground. When the black flame snake felt Xiao Chen's horror, it quickly fled into the distance. Its body stuck close to the ground as it moved, crushing many buildings. Trying to leave. It is already too late. Wukuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted, and the ancient divine Wukuei tree appeared from nowhere. It was like a mountain, carrying a surging thunder aura as it pressed down on the black flame snake. Rumble. The state of thunder infused with holy might surged continuously above Xiao Chen's head. Along with the rumbling thunder, the divine Wukuei tree grew larger at a visible rate. It pressed down on the black flame snake's body. The huge force caused the ground to tremble. After a while, the divine tree turned into a horrifying electric light and merged into the black flame snake's body. With a thought from Xiao Chen, the black flame snake exploded. The black flame snake, which was already riddled with wounds from the purple thunder true fire, was blasted into smithereens by this electric light. It left behind a rain of blood that fell from the sky. Xiao Chen pulled the black flame snake's spirit core over and tossed it into his universe ring. Then, he quickly walked over to the Clear Wind City's city lord. Xiao Chen took out the mission contract and said indifferently, "Mission completed. Will you please leave your handprint and the city lord's official seal? It would be best if you left your handwriting on it." When the Clear Wind City's city lord saw the black flame snake, which had plagued Clear Wind City for several months, being easily killed by Xiao Chen, he still could not believe it. He only recovered his wits when Xiao Chen repeated himself. Xiao Chen, Xiao Dragon, Dragon City Lord. Lord, Chen, Dragon, Lord. Xiao Moon. Forgive me for being direct, but isn't Qingyun Peak in decline? Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Qingyun Peak's Yi Chen is the real deal. There is no need for me to lie to you. Qingyun Peak has not declined either. At least, his martial technique inheritance is still here. Furthermore, there is a peak master with limitless potential." After the black flame snake died, the city lord was in a good mood. He smiled and said, "Truly a young hero. This is unbelievable. I will leave my handprint now." After the Clear Wind City Lord left his handprint, he took out the city lord's official seal and stamped it in red. Finally, he added his personal signature. Xiao Chen's mission was complete. Satisfied, Xiao Chen received the mission contract. He revealed a faint smile. He had obtained 1,000 contribution points. This mission was too simple, it could not temper his saber techniques at all. However, it was good to expand Qingyun Peak's reputation. As the city lord watched Xiao Chen leave, the assistant beside the city lord suddenly said, "My lord, I remember something. Recently, there was a rumor in the Shihe province that a youth from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion killed an expert of the older generation, Yuming Shan. It seems like it might be him." The city lord muttered, "There is an 80% chance that it is him." Although the black flame snake was a weak peak rank 6 spirit beast, it was still a peak superior grade martial saint. It would take a lot of effort to kill it. Furthermore, it would be hard to escape unscathed. This youth easily killed the black flame snake in just a few moves. Clearly, the two are not on the same level. There would not be more than 10 such geniuses in the great Qin nation. Qingyun Peak's reputation is going to soar. The Flowing Cloud mountain range was the second largest mountain range in the Shihe province, second only to the Lingyun mountain range. The spiritual energy there was much less dense than the Lingyun mountain range. However, the spirit herbs and all sorts of rare plants in the mountain range were no less than the Lingyun mountain range. It was a famous herb mountain. The most important thing was that although there were many sects of various sizes around this mountain range, there was not a single strong sect. Hence, it was ownerless. There were many more cultivators coming and going here than in the Lingyun mountain range. Most of them were hired by the big powers to protect the herb gatherers, preventing them from being injured by the ferocious spirit beasts in the mountains. On a lone peak in the core of the Flowing Cloud mountain range, a white-clothed girl carrying a medicinal basket was nimbly climbing up a dangerous cliff. Beside the white-clothed girl was a young bladesman in blue robes. He slowly floated beside her, protecting her. If that Blades man was not Xiao Chen, who else could it be? Xiao Chen looked at the white-clothed girl climbing up bitterly. He shook his head and said indifferently, Miss Sun, why go through so much trouble? Just tell me what the herb you are looking for looks like, and I'll help you pick it. This girl was the daughter of the manor lord of a manor famous for alchemy near the Flowing Cloud mountain range. Her name was Sun Qian. She was also the one who issued the mission for Xiao Chen. If he helped the other party pick a spirit herb, he would receive 1,000 contribution points. Xiao Chen did not want to waste any time. Hence, he wanted to quickly complete the mission. Sweat covered Sun Qian's exquisite face. When she heard Xiao Chen's words, she wiped away her sweat and smiled. Young Master Yi, it is not that I insist on doing this. It is just that this spirit herb is very troublesome to pick. You have to pull out all the roots. Furthermore, it cannot be damaged at all. Otherwise, if the spiritual energy leaks out, the spirit herb will wither very quickly. The medicinal effects will be completely gone. An inexperienced herb gatherer would not know the exact method. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Since Sun Qian said that, he could only let her be. He extended out his spiritual sense and started to investigate the surroundings. Xiao Chen knew how to refine alchemy as well. He knew that Sun Qian was exaggerating. As long as there was some damage, the medicinal effects of any spirit herb would not diminish so quickly. However, Xiao Chen could not be bothered. Sun Qian's request was not exaggerated. When the time came, he would just have to adapt to the situation. The cliff that the two of them were on was very famous in the entire Flowing Cloud mountain range. It had an interesting name, Go Crazy First, also known as Immortal Herb Peak. The Immortal Herb Peak was the core of the Flowing Cloud mountain range. It was where the spiritual energy of the entire mountain range gathered. The peak was filled with peak-grade spirit herbs that could be picked at any time. At the foot of the mountain were spirit herbs that were about 50 years old. At the waist of the mountain, they were all spirit herbs that were more than 100 years old. If one could climb to the peak, they might even be able to find spirit herbs that were more than 1,000 years old. It could be said to be a true immortal herb peak. The reason why it had another name, Go Crazy First, was passed down by herb gatherers. Only a crazy person would risk their life to climb this peak. This was because it was simply too dangerous. There were all sorts of ferocious flying spirit beasts in the surroundings. These spirit beasts consumed peak-grade spirit herbs all year round. Their cultivations were much stronger than regular spirit beasts. Furthermore, this was because it was high up in the sky. Even a peak superior grade martial saint who had not learned a flying martial technique would not dare to climb to the waist of the mountain. At most, they would pick some spirit herbs at the foot of the mountain and leave immediately. As for the peak above 4,000 meters, there was once a superior grade martial king who relied on his strength to fly up. In the end, he did not even last half a minute before he was brutally killed by the guardian spirit beast of the holy herb. Xiao Chen was very clear on his own strength. This mission only required him to climb to the waist of the mountain. The height of 100 meters was still within his acceptable range. If he went any higher, he would have to give up on this mission. Without the cultivation of a martial king, he would simply be seeking death. At this moment, he had only climbed less than 500 meters, and he had already run into several ferocious rank 6 spirit beasts. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense detected a few black dots flying over from the northwest. He took out the Soul Slayer bow from the universe ring and said indifferently, Miss Sun, be careful. There are more spirit beasts flying over. When Sun Qian heard this, her expression changed slightly. She quickly stopped climbing and slowly moved towards a protruding rock that she could use as leverage. The black dots in the distance got closer. They were 4 medial grade rank 6 spirit beasts, flaming cloud vultures. They were 3 meters long and had a wingspan of 20 meters. The feathers on their bodies were as bright as fire. They looked like a burning flame in the air. There were 9 vertical feathers on their tails. They were like sharp swords, straight and tough. There was a strand of flame at the tip of each feather. Although these flying spirit beasts were only medial grade rank 6, they were more difficult to deal with than a regular peak rank 6 spirit beast. If one was not careful, they would suffer greatly. Xiao. Xiaochen drew back the bowstring and nocked an essence light arrow. His spiritual sense locked onto a flaming cloud vulture and he immediately released. The arrow moved like a meteor, tearing through the air and creating a piercing sound. With a "so" sound, the arrow pierced through a flaming cloud vulture, creating a huge bloody hole. The flaming cloud vulture cried out miserably and fell to the ground. Chi! Chi! Xiaochen's hands did not stop moving as he fired another arrow. The stronger the Soul Slayer bow, the stronger it would be. Every few months when Xiaochen used it, its might would increase significantly. The other flaming cloud vulture that Xiaochen aimed at turned in the air. However, it still could not escape its fate of death. With a bang, a bloody hole appeared in its body. "Miss Sun, be careful. I'll be back soon." The remaining 2 flaming cloud vultures were already less than 500 meters away from Xiaochen. If they were too close, the Soul Slayer bow would not be as effective. Xiaochen swapped out his lunar shadow saber and rushed out to lure the flaming cloud vultures away. Sun Qian said worriedly, "Young hero Yi, be careful." So. A flaming cloud vulture quickly flew over Xiaochen's head. Its 2 sharp claws, which could easily tear through rocks, clawed at Xiaochen's head. Chapter 304. If Xiaochen was caught, no matter how strong his physical body was, his head would immediately explode. When Sun Qian saw the huge body of the fiery cloud vulture covering Xiaochen's figure, she was so frightened that she turned pale and cried out. Bang! Bang! There were 2 explosions in the air. The first explosion was when the fiery cloud vulture's hard, frost iron claws were chopped off, and it fell from the sky. The second explosion was when a saber pierced through the fiery cloud vulture's body. After that, Xiaochen's entire body pierced through the fiery cloud vulture. When Sun Qian saw that Xiaochen was safe and sound, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "That scared me to death." If Xiaochen had died under the claws of the fiery cloud vulture, with her martial grand master cultivation, it was easy to imagine the consequences. She would have followed in Xiaochen's footsteps. The final fiery cloud vulture circled around Xiaochen continuously. Its tail feathers left rings of flames in the air. Finally, these flames formed a huge flaming tornado, encasing Xiaochen within. Break! Xiaochen swung his saber and a sharp saber chi tore a hole in the flaming tornado. Then, he quickly flew out of the blazing flames. So. The instant Xiaochen emerged, the 8 flaming feathers on the fiery cloud vulture's tail feathers shot out like sharp arrows. As the flaming wings flew, they continuously absorbed the fire-attributed spiritual energy in the air. When they got close to Xiaochen, they turned into a 20-meter-long flaming spear. Xiaochen used the gravity spell in the air, so he could only bring out about 70% of his strength. He did not dare to clash head-on with these flaming spears. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Xiaochen shouted and his body trembled in the air. He split into 9 and dodged the flaming spears flying at him. The momentum of the spears did not decrease. When they struck the ground, they blasted open 8 deep pits. Clear wind chop, only seeing the cool wind and not the saber. 9 gusts of cool wind blew from all directions, and in each breeze, there was a gust of wind. Xiaochen's figure was hidden in each of them. In an instant, Xiaochen's killing intent was completely gone. Only a gentle breeze brushed past the fiery cloud vulture's body. The fiery cloud vulture had never encountered such a situation before. It could not sense Xiaochen's killing chi, so it could not help feeling suspicious. Boom! Just as it was feeling puzzled, Xiaochen's 9 figures merged together. 9 pieces of saber chi shot out from the fiery cloud vulture's body, cutting it into 9 pieces in an instant. Xiaochen sheathed his saber and returned to Sun Qian's side. He said indifferently, "If we go any higher, it will be even more dangerous. Just tell me what spirit herbs you need, and I will bring you there. Sun Qian revealed a difficult expression and hesitated. However, when she saw the determination in Xiao Chen's eyes, she lowered her head and said softly, I want a 500-year-old 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. I want to trample on the entire plant. A 500-year-old 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was very valuable. If she sold it, she could easily fetch more than 500 medial-grade spirit stones. It looks like I am going to make a loss on this mission. Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly. He extended out his spiritual sense and found the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit after a while. Indeed, the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was not just 100 meters up the mountain. It was more than a kilometer up. No wonder this girl refused to let him bring her up. She was probably worried that after Xiao Chen found out about the situation, she would immediately turn around and leave. So she could only brace herself and climb on her own. It would not be good to leave her behind when they reached the place. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled bitterly. Then, he picked up Sun Qian, who had her head lowered, and hugged her by the waist. As Sun Qian cried out in surprise, Xiao Chen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and activated the windwalk shoes. His speed instantly reached the speed of sound as he quickly climbed up the cliff. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen arrived at the location of the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. He placed the dazed Sun Qian on a protruding rock and said, We have arrived. Hurry up, there will be spirit beasts arriving soon. When Sun Qian saw the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit before her, she recovered her wits. She quickly took out a hoe from the herb basket and started to dig carefully. Xiao! Suddenly, a formless fluctuation appeared in the air. Xiao Chen frowned slightly as he looked into the distance. At the limits of his vision, he saw a fiery cloud vulture that was 20 meters long and had a wingspan of 100 meters. There were 20-odd feathers on its tail. Damn it, it is actually an adult fiery cloud vulture. It has lived for at least 500 years. I am definitely not a match for it in the air. Xiao Chen quickly analyzed the situation. Very few spirit beasts could live to adulthood. However, once they did, their strength would undergo a qualitative change. Miss Sun, how much longer do you need? Xiao Chen asked. Sun Qian was focused on digging the small tree where the flowing cloud fruit grew. When she heard Xiao Chen's question, she replied, 2 minutes. I only need 2 minutes. Xiao Chen's expression was calm as he said, Don't lie to me. I'll pick you up in 2 minutes. After Xiao Chen spoke, he leaped into the air and quickly flew towards the adult fiery cloud vulture, luring it in another direction. Xiao Chen did not seek to kill it, he just wanted to delay it for 2 minutes. Hearing the voice behind her and sensing that Xiao Chen had left, Sun Qian's head immediately swelled. Her 2 charming eyebrows were tightly knitted together. With a bitter face, he said, Really, I need at least 3 minutes. I should hurry up. His hands began to move faster. After digging out the rhizome, he immediately cleaned the rhizome carefully. There were close to a few hundred long and thin tentacles on the rhizome. If Sun Qian could not break a single one of these tentacles, she would not be able to achieve her goal. The sounds of explosions came from behind her, making her even more nervous. She increased her speed even more. 2 minutes later, Xiao Chen rushed back, travel-worn. His robes were burned to the point that not a single part of them was undamaged. His hair was disheveled. Blood leaked out from the corner of his lips, and a fiery red feather was stuck in his chest. Xiao Chen pulled out the feather. When Sun Qian heard the voice again, her forehead was covered in sweat. Her hands moved extremely quickly before she managed to place the last few tentacles back into the herb basket and cover it properly. Xiao Chen did not give her a chance to speak. He carried her and quickly descended to the ground 2 kilometers above the ground. Bang! The moment the 2 of them left, the adult fiery cloud vulture's huge claws clawed at the mountain peak. 2 large holes with a diameter of 10 meters appeared in the mountain peak, causing dust to fly everywhere. When the mature fiery cloud vulture saw that the entire 9-colored flowing cloud fruit had been dug out, it became completely enraged. It let out a sharp cry and charged at Xiao Qian and Sun Qian. Its speed instantly surpassed the speed of sound. Sun Qian fell from a high altitude. She was in Xiao Qian's embrace, her complexion pale. She was so frightened that she did not dare to make a sound. She grabbed onto Xiao Qian's waist tightly. Circulating the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, Xiao Qian withdrew his strength and increased his weight to 5,000 kilograms. His speed of descent immediately increased by several tens of times. When Xiao Qian was about to land, he quickly dispersed his energy and sent out a shockwave towards the ground. His body immediately slid forward. Purple thunder, true fire, shoot! Xiao Qian turned his head, and a fierce purple flame quickly gathered in his right eye. It formed a purple arrow and struck the fiery cloud vulture at lightning speed. Boom! The explosion created a huge shockwave, blowing the huge body of the mature fiery cloud vulture far away. In an instant, it was a great distance away from Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian completed this series of actions in the time it took for a spark to fly. There were no pauses at all. He had exhausted less than 30% of his essence. In addition to the injuries he had suffered earlier, this journey could be said to be extremely dangerous. If he hesitated for even a moment, he would have died under the vulture's claws. Outside the mountain range, the people of the Clear Water Manor's Flowing Clouds sect were waiting anxiously. When they saw Xiao Qian carrying Sun Qian flying out, they all revealed joyful smiles. Xiao! Xiao Qian landed firmly on the ground while carrying Sun Qian. He gently placed the blushing Sun Qian on the ground before slowly moving to the side. First miss, did you succeed? Did you manage to pick the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit? The people of the Clear Water Manor immediately surrounded Sun Qian and asked all at once. After they received an affirmative answer, they all revealed excited smiles. With this, we can transplant the flowing cloud fruit back to our Clear Water Manor's herb garden in perfect condition. The Manor Lord will be very happy. We will be able to earn at least 100 medial-grade spirit stones every year. Xiao Qian tidied up his messy clothes and his scattered black hair. When he heard this, he finally understood why they could not destroy the roots of the flowing cloud fruit. It turned out that they needed to transplant the herb. However, the flowing cloud fruit was already a rank 8 spirit herb. For the Clear Water Manor to know how to transplant it, they really hid their strength. Sun Qian parted the crowd and rushed over to Xiao Qian excitedly. Her face was filled with smiles as she said, "Young hero Yi, thank you very much. Are your injuries all right?" Xiao Qian smiled casually, indicating that he was fine. In reality, he was indeed fine. Although the mature fiery cloud vulture was very ferocious, it would be difficult for Xiao Qian to escape unscathed if he kept dodging. However, he could still avoid getting injured. This is the mission contract. Miss Sun, please sign it and leave your fingerprint, Xiao Qian said as he took out the contract and ink and handed it to Sun Qian. After Sun Qian received the contract and signed it, she took out 2 bottles of medicinal pills and handed them to Xiao Qian. She said, "Young hero Yi, these are our Clear Water Manor's secret healing pills. When consumed orally and applied externally, they can heal your injuries quickly." Xiao Qian received the contract and medicinal pills. Then, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks, Miss Sunday. I will take my leave first." After speaking, Xiao Qian did not linger. His figure flashed as he left. Sun Qian looked in the direction Xiao Qian left. Her gaze never left him. It was like something in her heart had been hollowed out. "Miss, stop looking. This kind of person is destined to be on a different level from us," the old housekeeper of the Clear Water Manor said unhurriedly when he saw Sun Qian's expression. Sun Qian revealed a bitter smile and disappointment flashed in her eyes. She said indifferently, "I know. That's why I did not try to hold him back. Let's go." After leaving the Flowing Cloud Manor, Xiao Qian went to the nearest city and found an inn. He took a comfortable bath and changed his clothes. Then, he took out the mission contracts and checked them carefully. After Xiaochen checked them one by one, he said, "In the past 2 months, I have already completed the 15 missions in the Shihe province. The remaining 5 are for the other prefectures. Let's start with the Dongming province first." Chapter 305. Suddenly, Xiaochen focused his gaze on a mission contract. This black rank mission was different from the others. There were 5 black stars behind the black title. The 5 stars represented the difficulty of the mission. It was the highest among the black rank missions. The most difficult mission that Xiaochen had done in the past 2 months was only 3 stars. It required Xiaochen to use 70% of his strength before he managed to complete it. However, the reward of a 5-star mission was very generous. It was a total of 3,000 contribution points. However, what made Xiaochen unable to shift his gaze away was the name of the person entrusted to the mission, Dongming Province's Duanmu clan's Duanmuking. There was no detailed description of the mission. It only roughly stated that it was an escort mission. The requirement was that the cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. When Xiaochen first saw this mission, he did not hesitate and chose it. Be it the high reward or the person entrusted to the mission, Xiaochen was very interested in it. With the Duanmu clan's strength, they actually wanted to entrust the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This escort mission was definitely not simple. Furthermore, the requirement of this mission was very interesting. The cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. Xiaochen quickly figured out the crux of the matter. The destination of the escort mission would definitely have a barrier. Those above Martial King would not be able to enter. Interesting, there will definitely be a pleasant surprise in this mission. Xiaochen put away the contract and smiled faintly. "I will rest for the night first. We will depart tomorrow." Dongming Province, Sishui Prefecture's capital, Duanmu clan's courtyard. As one of the 2 great noble clans of Dongming Province, the Duanmu clan occupied an area of several thousand mu. There were countless pavilions, corridors, and courtyards. At this moment, there was a cold and elegant girl sitting on a wooden chair in the main hall. Her gaze was very cold. One look from her could make one feel a bone-chilling cold. This was the Duanmu clan's princess, Duanmuking. Occasionally, there would be servants rushing in. These people did not dare to look her in the eye. When they arrived, they immediately knelt on the ground. Reporting to First Miss, Nanling Province's Ji clan's Ji Changkong has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. Hua Yunfei of Dongming's Hua clan has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Misty Sword sect's first disciple, Chu Chaoyun, has arrived. He is also waiting in the front yard. Night Spirit Palace's second disciple, Mu Yanxue, has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Duke's Gi Marquis, Ying Xiao, has arrived and is waiting in the front courtyard. The servant's voice only stopped after reporting more than 10 people. Any one of these people could be said to be famous in the great Qin nation. They were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Unexpectedly, they were all gathered in the Duanmu clan today. If outsiders knew of such a situation, they would definitely be astonished. They would not know what had happened for the Duanmu clan to gather all the geniuses of the great Qin nation's younger generation. Duanmuking slowly stood up and asked, "Aside from Mu Qingxue who is in seclusion, who else is not here?" A middle-aged woman beside Xiaochen replied, "Aside from him, there is only the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Murong Chong. Furthermore, I heard that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion treated our invitation as a mission and sent it out. They did not take it seriously at all." Duanmuking's expression did not change. He said indifferently, "There is no need to bother with them. Murong Chong has already left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. I believe they will not be able to send anyone decent. They are preparing to send someone over." After Duanmu Qing spoke, she led a few women with high cultivations to the front yard. Before they reached the front yard, a loud sound rang out. Before they reached the front yard, they felt a strong aura rushing into the sky. They did not give way to each other. They were fighting in the sky, causing the sky to change color. The people who came this time were all dragons and phoenixes among men. Naturally, they were not willing to be inferior to others. It was clear that these auras were done on purpose. In the front yard, there were more than 100 people seated in 4 directions, one direction for the Dongming province, one direction for the Nanling province, one direction for the Shihe province, and one direction for the prince's residence. The weakest of these people was a superior grade martial saint. Many of them had comprehended their own states and could easily kill an inferior grade martial king. The vast front yard was exceptionally quiet. However, under this silence, there was an undercurrent. The scions of the various noble clans were sizing up their competitors. Dong! 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 Footsteps could be heard. It was Duanmuking walking in. The woman beside her revealed a smile and said softly, "Thank you, everyone, for giving face to the Duanmu clan and coming as arranged." In the front yard, a purple-robed youth sat in the south. He laughed strangely and said in a cynical manner, "Haha. I am not giving face to the Duanmu clan. I am here for my own fortuitous encounter." Cut the crap. Duanmuking, what exactly is the Firely Sect branch hall remnant that you mentioned? Tell us more clearly. I believe everyone here is here for a fortuitous encounter. The person who spoke was said to be the last sect in the Tianwu continent that had a complete method to forge secret treasures. After the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty, the person who spoke was called Sun Wei. He was the scion of the Sun clan, one of the 2 noble clans of the Nanling province. He was very strong. However, his fame was suppressed by Mu Qingxue and Ji Changkong. Hence, not many people knew about him. Based on what Sun Wei said, no wonder Duanmuking was able to gather all the outstanding talents of the great Qin nation. It turned out that there was the temptation of a fortuitous encounter. The geniuses all had the same starting line. The amount of fortuitous encounters they had would determine how far they could go in the future and how outstanding they were. Many of the people here had experienced their own fortuitous encounters. They were very familiar with the benefits. It was impossible for them not to come. The Firely sect was lost in the long river of history, mysteriously disappearing. Not to mention finding the method to forge secret treasures, just finding a few high-ranked secret treasures would allow everyone's strength to increase significantly. Or perhaps they could find a few special martial techniques of the Firely sect. They could also increase their strength significantly. It had to be known that 10,000 years ago, the Firely sect was in existence that could rival a holy land. The martial techniques in the sect would definitely not be simple. Duanmuking looked at Sun Wei coldly, causing the latter to feel a deep chill. He said indifferently, "When everyone is here, I will naturally tell you." Sun Wei was a little flustered by this look. He quickly circulated his essence and forced out the chill from the bottom of his heart. Ji Changkong, who was not far behind Sun Wei, said indifferently, "Who else is not here yet?" "The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Murong Chong." Reporting to First Miss, "The people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion are here," a servant said quickly as he ran in. Duanmuking said softly, "Invite him in." After they arrived at the Duanmu clan's residence, Xiaoqin handed over the mission contract and was quickly led in. From a distance, Xiaoqin could feel all sorts of auras clashing intensely in the air above the front yard. While waiting for the notification, Xiaoqin extended out his spiritual sense. The appearances of everyone in the front yard immediately appeared in his vision. Xiaoqin withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled faintly. The Guyi Marquis, Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, Duanmuking, Chu Chaoyun, and Mu Yanxue. There are many familiar faces here. Aside from these people, Xiaoqin was surprised to see in person. As for the others that he did not recognize, he could guess their identities. If they were not from the 3 great sects, then they were the disciples of the inherited noble clans. All of them were at least superior grade martial saints. Every noble clan disciple brought 2 or 3 subordinates with them. This mission is probably different from what I expected. It is definitely not a simple escort mission. Xiaoqin collected his thoughts and thought to himself, "I'll take it one step at a time." When the time comes, I'll act according to the situation. I can use this opportunity to understand their strength. Without waiting for long, the person who led Xiao Chen in immediately passed on Duanmuking's words to him, "Young Master Yi, the young miss invites you in." Xiao Chen nodded and sorted out his emotions. Then, he slowly walked in. Xiao. The moment he entered, Xiao Chen felt countless gazes directed at him. Some of these gazes were filled with disdain, some with doubt, and some with undisguised mockery. Xiao Chen maintained a calm expression as he took in everyone's expressions. When he discovered that Ji Changkong and the others did not have any strange expressions, he relaxed slightly. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyun's reaction surprised Xiao Chen. He only glanced at Chu Chaoyun briefly before ignoring him. Then, Chu Chaoyun closed his eyes and rested. When Xiao Chen felt Yun Kursen's gaze, he nodded at her. He discovered that her cultivation had actually broken through to superior grade martial saint in a short period of time. It looks like she has already completely comprehended the heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Suddenly, Sun Wu laughed loudly within the crowd. He pointed at Xiao Chen and said, "How funny. Duanmuking, you made us wait for so long just for this trash. He is just a medial grade martial saint. Is he even fit to compete with us for a fortuitous encounter?" Duanmuking was mildly surprised as well. He did not expect the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to be so perfunctory. Even if Murong Chong did not come, sending a peak superior grade martial saint should not be difficult. Aside from Murong Chong, who else in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is worth looking at? "Go back to where you came from," a royal clan disciple in the royal court said casually. The Dongming province's Hua Yunfei also smiled coldly and said, "A medial grade martial disciple is just sending himself to death." Duanmuking, don't tell me you are going to invite such a person as well. The matter of Xiao Chen defeating Murong Chong was only known by a small number of people in the Shihe province. It had not spread out on a large scale. Aside from the Shi clan's Shi Feng, Mu Yanxue, Yun Kursen, and the others who knew Xiao Chen's true strength, no one else knew. However, when they saw Xiao Chen ridiculing them, they did not say anything. They only watched quietly as the situation developed. Sun Wu revealed a cold expression and said sullenly, "Are you still not going to scram? Don't blame me for making a move." So. A strong wind blew in the courtyard, picking up the fallen leaves and causing them to dance in the air. Sun Wu leaped into the air, passing through countless fallen leaves as he punched at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression was incomparably calm, he did not feel any joy or sorrow in his heart. When he saw Sun Wu flying over, he casually waved his hand. The lightning-attributed spiritual energy in the air immediately gathered and formed a clump of intense purple flames. It appeared in front of Sun Wu and flew at him. Chapter 306. You dare to make a move against me with such a small amount of lightning-attributed fire? You overestimate yourself. Break for me. Xiao Chen roared ferociously. The fist wind was like a pillar as it struck the purple thunder true fire that Xiao Chen formed. Bang! The purple flames exploded, creating a shockwave in the air. The huge force shocked Sun Wei, who was in the air. Sun Wei's punch did not scatter the purple flames. Unexpectedly, after the purple flames exploded, they could still produce such a huge force. Boom! 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 Before Sun Wei could react, Xiao Chen waved his right hand 3 more times. 3 clumps of purple flames shot out from 3 different directions at Sun Wei. Sun Wei spun around in the air and kicked. There was an explosive sound in the air. One of the clumps of purple flames shattered and turned into a purple shockwave. Using the force of this kick, Sun Wei quickly changed his angle and dodged the 2 clumps of purple flames. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He casually sent out another 4 clumps of purple flames at Sun Wei. Sun Wei's expression turned slightly angry. His body, which had been preparing to charge forward, could not help but move back and scatter the purple flames. Following Xiao Chen's casual movements, Sun Wei's body flipped continuously in the air as he shouted. However, he could not get close to Xiao Chen. Instead, the purple lightning-attributed fire pushed him further back. Purple thunder, true fire. Xiao Chen shouted, and all the remnant purple lightning in the air instantly formed a huge clump of purple flames. This lightning-attributed fire was incredibly ferocious. The moment it appeared, the temperature in the courtyard rose by more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. The flowers and plants in the courtyard were scorched and turned into ashes. Bang! Sun Wei, who was in the air, was caught off guard. He only had time to form a barrier of essence. The ferocious flames immediately struck him, giving off a loud sound. His body fell to the ground like a sandbag and rolled far away. When the others saw Sun Wei tumbling to the ground, their expressions changed. They no longer looked at Xiao Chen with the contempt they had earlier. Almost everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Sun Wei's strength could be ranked in the top 30 among the 100 people present. However, Xiao Chen did not move at all. With just a few casual waves of his hand, he had sent Sun Wei flying. This level of strength was enough to make one's heart palpitate. Many of them swapped the scene just now and came to the same conclusion. If they were Xiao Chen, they would also be able to repel Sun Wei, but they would not be able to do it as easily as Xiao Chen. Withdraw! Xiao Chen shouted and clenched 2 fingers on his right hand. The scattered purple qi in the air quickly gathered at his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge flame whirlpool. The purple flames continued to condense and finally formed a small wisp of flame, swaying and dancing above his 2 fingers. After Sun Wei rolled on the ground, he pushed off the ground and quickly stood up. His expression was incredibly sullen and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Sun Wei's right hand quickly grasped the sword at his waist. Punching and kicking were his weaknesses. Earlier, he saw that Xiao Chen did not draw a weapon, so he did not bother drawing one. However, he did not expect to embarrass himself in front of everyone. Sun Wei did not think that his strength was weaker than Xiao Chen, a medial-grade martial saint. Furthermore, he was a cultivator with an inherited martial spirit. If he used his full strength, Xiao Chen would not be a match for him. Today, no one can save you. Die! Setting sun break. Sun Wei roared ferociously and drew the sword at his waist. A setting sun appeared from nowhere and turned into a dazzling sword light, shooting at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said softly, "Release." The swaying flame on Xiao Chen's fingertip suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It carried countless arcs of electricity and surging heat waves as it soared into the air. Duan Yuking's expression turned grave. He knew that if they continued fighting like this, one of them would be severely injured. This would not be beneficial to this operation. Her lily-white hand stretched out in the air and an ice wall rose from the ground, blocking the fire dragon and sword qi. The temperature in the air plummeted. The blazing sun hung overhead, but it made everyone feel like they had fallen into an ice cave. Frost covered everything in the front yard, it was like everything had stopped moving. The sun-like sword qi and the purple fire dragon were attacked by a strange cold current on the ice wall. They were quickly frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! When the sword qi and the fire dragon were 5 meters away from the ice wall, they were completely frozen. When they crashed into the ice wall, they immediately shattered into countless tiny ice shards. Unexpectedly, the martial techniques of the two were broken by Duanmu Qing at the same time. This move shocked everyone present. Xiao Chen was mildly astonished. After not seeing Duanmu Qing for a year, Duanmu Qing's strength had actually become so horrifying. Duanmu Qing withdrew his hand and scattered the ice wall. The temperature in the front yard returned to normal. The feeling of falling into an ice cave instantly disappeared. Sun Wei, if you still want to participate in this mission, you better shut your mouth and sheath your sword, Duanmu Qing said expressionlessly. Sun Wei snorted coldly and sheathed his sword. The strength that Duanmuking had displayed made him not dare to be as impudent as he was earlier. Sun Wei glanced coldly at Xiao Chen and said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion's trash, after this mission ends, you better pray that you do not meet me." Boom! Just as Sun Wei finished speaking, there was suddenly a deafening clap of thunder in the sky. A bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's calm eyes. Killing Qi immediately surged out and he placed his right hand on his saber hilt. Windwalk shoes activated. Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Arts High Rank Technique, Roaming Dragon's 9 Transformations. Qing Yun Peak Secret Technique, Clear Wind Chop. Suddenly, 9 cool breezes blew in the front yard. As the cool breezes caressed one's face, it made one's heart relax. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's figure split into 9. Xiao Chen drew his saber and 9 resplendent saber lights lit up. However, no one could feel any killing intent. With the aid of the Windwalk shoes, Xiao Chen's speed instantly reached the speed of sound. The saber lights danced around as fast as lightning. The 9 figures moved like the wind. It was dazzling, it was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. Boom! When the cool breezes stopped, the 9 figures merged together. Sun Wei had 9 more wounds on his body. He had just drawn his sword, he did not even have the chance to draw it. The bright tip of the lunar shadow saber pressed against Sun Wei's throat. He did not even dare to breathe loudly. Blood gushed out of his wound like a fountain. Sun Wei's complexion instantly paled. The tip of the saber pressed against his neck made him feel like death was so close to him for the first time. He even felt numb to the pain of his wound, he could no longer feel it. Xiao Chen flicked his wrist and scratched Sun Wei's neck, leaving behind a faint trace of blood. He said indifferently, "Now that I have touched you, what do you think you want?" Sun Wei's complexion paled, he was enraged. However, when he saw Xiao Chen's cold gaze, he did not dare to say anything. He felt that if he resisted, this person would not hesitate to kill him. Mu Qingxue was not around. Ji Changkong was the leader of the Nanling province's outstanding talents. At this moment, when Ji Changkong saw Xiao Chen pressing his saber against Sun Wei's neck, as the leader of the Nanling province, it would be inexcusable if he did not make a move. Ji Changkong slowly got up and walked over. The stars in his eyes flickered continuously, a boundless river of stars flowed in all directions. This made his eyes look boundlessly deep. If one was not careful, they would sink deep into the abyss. Ji Changkong walked until he was about 10 meters away from Xiao Chen. He said sullenly, "Friend, this is a little too much." Xiao Chen turned around and looked straight into Ji Changkong's eyes. He said indifferently, "How is it too much? He is only allowed to threaten and insult me. I am not allowed to retaliate." The moment Sun Wei entered the front yard, he immediately took the lead in mocking Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen could not be bothered with him, he was not a saint. He could remain indifferent when others scolded him. The second time Sun Wei made a move, he directly threatened Xiao Chen. This crossed Xiao Chen's bottom line. Although Xiao Chen had already sentenced Sun Wei to death in his heart, he did not intend to kill Sun Wei right now. This mission was definitely not simple. If he did not display a certain level of strength, he might not even be qualified to participate. Xiao Chen's main purpose in making such a forceful move was to intimidate the crowd. At the same time, he wanted to display his strength so that Sun Wei would not dare to be too presumptuous. This was how the world was. If Xiao Chen had displayed his strength from the start, there would not have been so many doubts. Ji Changkong looked at the wound on Sun Wei's chest and said, "Let him go first. I, Ji Changkong, guarantee that Sun Wei will not seek trouble for you during this mission. You will also have a share in this fortuitous encounter." Whether he sought trouble during the mission or not after the mission was over, Ji Changkong did not care. Xiao Chen smiled faintly to himself. This Ji Changkong really knew how to play word games. However, Xiao Chen had already achieved his goal. All he needed to do was to stop. Even if Sun Wei wanted to settle the score later, he was not afraid, he would just kill him. Ka-Xie. Shao Chen sheathed his saber and said indifferently, I hope your guarantee is effective. Sun Wei immediately felt a wave of relief. He quickly pressed the acupuncture point on his chest to stop the blood from gushing out. The two Sun family disciples who came with him were immediately supported by him and left the room. Hu Qi. Just as Shao Chen turned around, Ji Changkong suddenly made a move. The stars in his eyes started to flicker rapidly. When Ji Changkong sent out a palm strike, starlight filled the sky. The area within 100 meters of Ji Changkong turned into a resplendent galaxy. I guarantee that he will not seek trouble for you, but I did not guarantee that I will not seek trouble for you. Don't think that there is no one in Nanling province that you can do whatever you want, Ji Changkong said with a sinister expression. Shao Chen turned around and a tiger and dragon revolved around him. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulated rapidly. Shao Chen punched, carrying the might of a tiger and a soaring dragon as he welcomed the attack. Bang! When the fist and palm met, there was a loud sound. An intense shockwave spread out, forming a strong wind that blew in the courtyard. Everyone's clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. The stars behind Ji Changkong flickered. The starlight filled the sky and poured into his palm strike. The energy of the entire galaxy gathered together. However, this was the first time Shao Chen used the final move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Tiger and Dragon Soaring, after he cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to the threshold of the 5th layer. Shao Chen's strength reached 15,000 kilograms. Regardless of aura or strength, he was not weaker than his opponent. Chapter 307. The two of them were evenly matched. The instant their fists and palms collided, they both took 5 steps back. Both of them felt their right arms go numb. The qi and blood in their bodies churned violently and their internal organs trembled. Enough, whoever takes the initiative to attack can leave immediately. I, Duanmuking, will only say it once. If you don't believe me, feel free to give it a try. Duanmuking had an incomparably gloomy expression on her cold face. Her icy tone made it impossible for anyone to doubt her determination. Ji Changkong looked at the calm Shao Chen and knew that he could not take him down in a short period of time. He could only give up. The stars in the sky immediately disappeared and everything returned to normal. However, I have not tested out his true strength. It looks like there is another competitor in this fortuitous encounter, Ji Changkong thought to himself with some regret. In the ancient remnant in the savage forest, Ji Changkong had obtained the benefits of a fortuitous encounter. Hence, his desire for and competition for fortuitous encounters was much stronger than others. Seeing Ji Changkong withdraw, Shao Chen did not have any intentions of continuing. He knew that Ji Changkong only wanted to test his strength. It was far from a life and death situation. Duanmuking turned around and said to Shao Chen, I have not asked for your name. Also, please show me the mission contract and your Heavenly Saber Pavilion identity token. Shao Chen handed over the mission contract and identity token, Qingyun Peak, Yichen. Qingyun Peak. When Duanmuking heard these 3 words, her heart skipped a beat. She had some understanding of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion situation. The reason Murong Chong left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was because he lost to a Qingyun Peak disciple. From the looks of it, it was very likely to be this person. After checking the identity token and mission contract, Duanmuking said softly, please take a seat. I will count you in for this mission. After Shao Chen sat down, Duanmuking said softly, I don't need to say anything about the Firely sect. Everyone should be clear on this. During the Tianwu dynasty, all the secret treasures of the continent came from this sect. They are also the only sect that grasped the ability to refine secret treasures after the ancient era. This time, our Duanmu clan's main objective is not the Firely sect, but the profound ice flower in front of the Firely sect. As long as everyone can let me obtain the profound ice flower, I can help everyone open the entrance to the Firely sect branch hall ruins. Hua Yunfei said indifferently, the profound ice flower is not an ordinary spirit herb. Why should we give it to you? Also, How can you prove that there are remnants of a fiery sect branch beside the profound ice flower? If you leave immediately after obtaining the profound ice flower, wouldn't we all be fooled by you? You have to give us a reason that can convince us all. The profound ice flower was a very mysterious flower. Originally, the Martial Sky continent did not have such a flower. It was rumored that during the ancient era, after the Ice Empress, an emperor-level expert, died, her blood was scattered all over the place, then it grew into this flower. The entire flower was made up of the purest ice-attributed spiritual energy. It was crystal clear, pure and flawless. This flower could not immediately increase a cultivator's cultivation. However, if an ice-attributed cultivator consumed this flower, their physique would become the legendary spiritual body. They would be able to comprehend the state of ice to the limit. Furthermore, they would be able to cultivate ice-attributed martial techniques several times faster than regular cultivators. It was rumored that the Duanmu clan was the descendant of the Ice Empress. The profound ice incantation that they passed down was derived from the Ice Empress cultivation technique. Hence, this profound ice flower was even more important to the Duanmu clan than regular cultivators. If she obtained it, she would be able to increase the strength of the Duanmu clan rapidly. This was undoubtedly bad news for the other noble clans. Hua Yunfei's words also represented the intentions of the others. Duanmuking had to give them a reason to give up on the profound ice flower. Furthermore, he had to take out concrete evidence to prove the existence of the fiery sect branch hall. Duanmuking clearly expected the crowd to have such doubts. He said calmly, "The location of the profound ice flower is in a demonic beast forest. There is a seal on the land of the 3 holy masters there. Demonic beasts and cultivators above Martial King are not allowed to enter. This time, I will only bring 4 people with me. If there were no fiery sect remnants, you would be able to kill me easily with your strength. After I obtain the profound ice flower, I will not want any of the treasures in the fiery sect. As for the evidence you want, I cannot take it out. However, I can only use my life as a guarantee. If you believe me, you can go. If you don't, you can leave now." After the crowd heard Duanmuking's words, they all started to make their own plans. Although Duanmuking did not take out any evidence, no one expressed any intention of leaving even after a long time. There was nothing they could do about it. The temptation of a fortuitous encounter was too great. If they left, other geniuses like them would obtain the treasures in the fortuitous encounter. Who knows, they might be left behind forever, and it would be too late to regret it. Furthermore, everyone believed that Duanmuking did not have the guts to lie to them. Every single person in the front yard had a power comparable to the Duanmu clan. If they incurred the wrath of the crowd, it would only be a matter of 1 or 2 days before the Duanmu clan was destroyed. Chu Chaoyun, who had been silent all this while, suddenly opened his eyes and asked, "Demonic Beast Forest? Which demonic beast forest?" Duanmuking replied softly, "The one below Ink Mountain, the Ink Forest." "What's going on?" "Ink Forest." When everyone present heard the words, Ink Forest, they immediately took a deep breath of cold air. Their expressions changed greatly, and many of them started to hesitate. The Ink Forest was a demonic beast forest 5,000 meters below the ground. It was located at the bottom of the Ink Mountain Range. The entire Ink Mountain Range was a demonic beast mountain range. It was a famous dangerous place within the Great Qin nation. The spirit veins of the entire mountain range were all contaminated by demonic qi. Within a radius of 500 kilometers, the trees, flowers, and plants could be fatal if they were not careful. Without a Martial King cultivation, entering the core of the mountain range was no different from committing suicide. In comparison, the Ink Forest could be considered a forbidden land. The spirit veins origin of the entire Ink Mountain range that had been demonized was beneath the Ink Forest. The entire spirit veins origin had been contaminated. This was extremely rare in the Tianwu continent. Back then, even the 3 holy masters were unable to completely seal it. They could only leave a barrier to control the demonic beasts within. Those above Martial King would not be able to come out. Otherwise, if the horrifying demonic beasts inside came out, it would be an unbearable disaster for the surrounding cities. Duanmuking said softly, "Everyone, there is no need to worry after entering the Ink Mountain Range. The Duanmu clan's Profound Ice Palace will escort everyone safely to the entrance of the Ink Forest. Furthermore, the Profound Ice Flower and the Fierly Sex Remnant are not in the core of the forest." Even so, the doubts on everyone's faces did not disappear. They quickly calculated the risks and benefits in their hearts. Fortuitous encounters were often accompanied by danger. Walking the line between life and death, there had never been a free fortuitous encounter. Even if there was a free fortuitous encounter, the gains would not be great. Before the crowd came, they had already made their mental preparations. However, when they heard that they were going to the Ink Forest, they were caught off guard and hesitated. A fortuitous encounter was good. However, if they did not have their lives to obtain it, it would be all for naught. Chu Chaoyun thought for a while and said, "If it is only the periphery, we can give it a try. I, Hua Yunfei, can give it a try as well. However, it is just the Ink Forest. I want to see what kind of dragon's pool or tiger's den it is. Why would I, Ji Changkong, not dare? Mu Yanxue is willing to give it a try as well." After Chu Chaoyun spoke, the others all agreed. In the end, no one backed out, they all sat down and made their decision. Thinking about it, it was understandable. Everyone here was a dragon among men. No one would admit that they were weaker than the others. Even if they could see the risks and felt that someone was going to die, they would feel that the one dying would not be them. Xiao Chen looked at the high-spirited crowd and shook his head. This group of people probably had very little experience adventuring in the demonic beast forest. Most of them probably would not make it back alive. Seeing that everyone agreed, Duanmuking said, "Everyone, please rest for the night. We will depart tomorrow. Do not cause trouble in the residence. If you anger the elders, even I will not be able to protect you." Late at night, the moon hung high in the sky. Its golden light illuminated the ground. Xiao Chen was meditating in the guest room when he suddenly heard slow footsteps. He opened his eyes and sent out his spiritual sense. He discovered Yun Kursen standing outside the door. He quickly got up and welcomed her in. There was a graceful smile on Yun Kursen's delicate face. She said, "Congratulations, senior brother Yi. You defeated Murong Chong. Now, everyone in the entire Shiha province knows about you." Within the sect, strength was everything. Now that Xiao Chen defeated Murong Chong, it could be said that anyone in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who met Xiao Chen would have to address him as senior brother Yi. It did not matter how long one had been in the sect. However, Yun Kursen's words were clearly teasing him, it was half a joke. Xiao Chen smiled and said softly, "There is no need to be so formal. Senior sister Yun, just call me Xiao Chen. Have a seat, why are you looking for me?" Yun Kursen slowly sat down and took out a secret manual. She smiled and said, "You can also call me Kursen. I am here to give you a secret manual. I have already comprehended the inferior grade heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Take a look." Xiao Chen felt excited. He received the secret manual and looked at it. The handwriting on the secret manual was very delicate, it should be Yun Kursen's handwriting. After taking 2 glances, Xiao Chen was completely engrossed in it. After a long time, he closed the secret manual and said, "Thank you very much. You are the only one who can share a heaven-ranked cultivation technique with me." Yun Kursen smiled casually and said, "Let me give you a reminder. Don't cultivate this cultivation technique for now. I can cultivate it immediately because of my martial spirit. Your martial spirit should be lightning attributed. The roaming dragon incantation is wind attributed. With the tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique, it will immediately destroy the lightning-attributed essence in your body. Your cultivation will fall to a very low level for a short period of time. Furthermore, in the future, it will be very difficult for your essence to merge with other attributes." That was indeed the case. The tyrannical nature of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique was something Xiao Chen had experienced before. After the purple thunder divine incantation reached the fourth layer, it could not contain any other attributed essence. Currently, his body was filled with lightning attributed essence. Furthermore, it was incredibly pure. Chapter 308. Xiao Chen had a clear understanding of his own strength. He was not blindly confident just because he obtained a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Before they left, Duan Muking warned softly, "Everyone is free to look around the first and second floors. However, do not enter the third floor. I hope everyone will not break the rules." Xiao Chen looked around and discovered that there was not a single person in the huge hall. "That's not right, there is only one person." Xiao Chen focused his gaze. Duan Muking led the crowd to the second floor. There were many cubicles on the second floor. Basically, there were more than 100 people in each cubicle. It was said that there were only 10 flying secret treasures with complete battle patterns within the Great Qin nation. The remaining 9 were in the hands of the royal court. "Hu Qi," Xiao Chen said sullenly, "if I want to preserve my lightning-attributed essence, is there any way to do so?" A deep light appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He had a grave expression as he said, "I should not be in too much danger at the periphery of the ink forest. However, I should not let my guard down. The true danger might not be the demonic beasts in the forest, but the people around you. There is also the father who chased me out of Mo City. How is he doing now? Feng Feishua promised to take care of him. The noble clans should not make things difficult for him." Everyone entered in a single file. They were all curious about this profound ice palace that had been famous for a long time. They looked around the ice palace. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and entered deep thought. After a long time, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. There was a resolute look in his eyes as he said, "It is better to bury the past in my heart. I cannot live in my memories. Since I have already embarked on the path of cultivation, I should not look back." Why? This was a problem that had troubled Xiao Chen for a long time. Even now, he had not completely resolved it. Because of this, he had almost given up on cultivating the Lingyun saber technique to great perfection. The moment Xiao Chen said this, some people felt disappointed. However, in this profound ice palace, no one had the guts to break the rules of the other party. Xiao Chen looked at the clouds from the cubicle window. He felt like he was on a plane in his previous life. Suddenly, some forgotten memories came back to him. Xiao Chen was incomparably shocked. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the flame with a grave expression. Yun Kursen explained, "It is too dangerous. Before I came, I did not expect to be in the ink forest. Moreover, the competition is too great. I have just obtained a heaven-tier cultivation technique, so my accumulation is still lacking compared to these people." Just as Xiao Chen was feeling puzzled, a leisurely voice drifted over. It was Chu Chaoyun inviting him to sit with him with a smile. The mystic ice palace landed steadily on the vast training field. Duan Muking opened the doors of the ice palace and invited everyone in. Suddenly, a huge shadow fell on top of everyone's heads. When they looked up, they discovered that it was a huge ice bird that was 300 meters long and could reach a wingspan of 400 meters when it spread its wings. "Look, the Duanmu family's profound ice palace is flying over." However, in the hands of the Ice Empress, they were unable to resist at all. The peerless experts of the ancient era really make one yearn for them and fantasize about them. Is this the heavenly flame? As for the strongest, Xiao Chen, he could not see through his cultivation. This showed how much importance the Duanmu family placed on this profound ice palace. It looks like the Duanmu family put in a lot of effort for this mission. They really used the profound ice palace. I heard that flying and fighting in the profound ice palace cost 200 medial-grade spirit stones a day. The two of them chatted for a while. Finally, Yun Kursen stood up and said, "I will take my leave first. I intend to give up on tomorrow's mission. Take care of yourself." The profound ice palace looked incomparably cold. However, when one entered, it did not make one feel too cold. Instead, it felt cool and comfortable. Recollecting his thoughts, a murderous intent flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. It looked like this person had seen through his disguise. Chu Chaoyun put down his wine cup and clasped two fingers together. Suddenly, a strand of dazzling golden flame condensed on his fingertip. The light of the flame illuminated the entire hall of the profound ice palace. However, regarding dual cultivation, Xiao Chen still had some doubts. He asked, "In that case, why do I see cultivators with two attributes? Not only do they dual cultivate, but their cultivations are also not low." Xiao Chen did not even send out his spiritual sense, but he could feel 10 strong auras. The weakest was a medial grade martial king. When Xiao Chen heard this, he was somewhat surprised. He believed in Yun Kursen's strength. It would not be a problem for her to rank within the top 10. Why did she think of giving up? So, the profound ice palace left the ground and quickly flew towards the horizon. In the blink of an eye, it entered the clouds and soared in all directions. "Brother Yi Chen, it's been a long time. Do you want to come over and have a seat?" Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was like a sharp arrow, silently cutting off this melancholy. It turned the memories into a fallen leaf and buried them in a corner of his mind. Yun Kursen smiled gently and said, "You are talking about Murong Chong, right? As far as I know, he cultivates the wind cloud incantation. This is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique that fuses two attributes naturally. Such a cultivation technique is extremely rare. It is even more valuable than a heaven-ranked cultivation technique." Chu Chaoyun drained the wine cup in his hand in one gulp. He smiled and said, "In my opinion, you are the one who is unfathomable. However, I am really curious about your cultivation. How did it increase so quickly in just 1 year?" Xiao Chen said as he sat on the ice bed. Yun Kursen was able to calmly make a choice. He believed that many cultivators would be able to do this. Xiao Chen suddenly understood. So that is how it is. No wonder Murong Chang's state of wind and cloud could be merged so perfectly. I heard that this profound ice palace was left behind by an ancient expert, the Ice Empress. She used a secret technique to carve the 10,000-year-old ice soul from the extremely cold lands of the north. As the sun rose, its rays illuminated the land. Xiao Chen came out of his cultivation and washed up. Then, someone immediately led him to a dueling ground in the residence. The outstanding talents of various places gathered at the dueling ground. Xiao Chen took a look. Aside from Yun Kursen, almost no one left. Chu Chaoyun looked at Xiao Chen, who was sitting down. He said, "Brother Yi Chen, relax. I am not here to ask you for that golden grade spirit core. Why are you so nervous?" Xiao Chen would not be able to reach the Ink Mountain range before nightfall. Due to the earlier melancholy, Xiao Chen had been interrupted. For now, Xiao Chen was no longer in the mood to continue cultivating. He prepared to get up and take a look around the first floor. Placing the lunar shadow saber on the ice table, Xiao Chen picked up a grape from the table and ate one. He said indifferently, "You are still the same as before. You are always unfathomable." Unexpectedly, the golden flame contained a trace of a sovereign overlooking the world, a will of supremacy. It inspired reverence in one's heart. Before this tiny flame, Xiao Chen actually felt insignificant. A look of reminiscence appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He hugged the lunar shadow saber and leaned against the wall. He muttered, "In the blink of an eye, it has already been 2 years since I came to this world. I wonder how my relatives are doing." Chu Chaoyun's words hid a trace of desolation. With his incredibly sharp spiritual sense, Xiao Chen immediately caught it. However, he could not figure out what it meant. There were some exquisite murals carved on the surrounding walls. There were also several windows that allowed one to see the situation outside. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation should not be any weaker than the Roaming Dragon Incantation. It looks like I can still try cultivating the Roaming Dragon Incantation. When Xiao Chen arrived at the cubicle that belonged to him, he sized it up. If he excluded the ice sculptures, this cubicle was no different from the cubicle on the ground floor. As Xiao Chen watched Chu Chaoyun leave, he entered deep thought. Chu Chaoyun's humility was something that all cultivators should learn. Since ancient times, how many geniuses had died due to blind confidence? As for geniuses who died young, they were no longer geniuses, they were just stepping stones for others. The ice bird under the profound ice palace gave off a sharp cry. The surrounding air became like a whirlwind, kicking up sand and rocks in the dueling grounds. Xiao Chen retorted, compared to you, who possesses the heavenly flame, it is not even worth mentioning. Yun Kursen thought for a while and said, it is not like there is none. If you can find a heaven-ranked lightning-attributed cultivation technique that is not inferior to the roaming dragon incantation, or a peak earth-ranked lightning-attributed cultivation technique, it should be possible. However, after that, you will have to rest twice. The growth of your cultivation will be slower than that of regular cultivators. The taste of the grapes was very refreshing. It looked like this ice palace had the effect of keeping them fresh and chilling. Chu Chaoyun's attire was the same as before, wearing alternating blue and white robes. He carried a sword on his back that looked like it would never be drawn. He always had a carefree expression on his face. His state had collapsed, and his saber technique had disappeared. Before he attacked, he would be full of openings. In a life-and-death battle, how could he dare to use it? If he cultivated a dual-attributed cultivation technique, everything would fall into place. However, he did not know how Yun Kursen knew this secret. After entering the first floor of the ice palace, Xiao Chen saw a very wide hall. There were tables, chairs, benches, and all sorts of other furniture in the hall. Of course, these furniture were all made of ice. Xiao Chen withdrew his aura and could not help but tighten his grip on the scabbard in his left hand. Then, he slowly walked over to the round table where Chu Chaoyun was. This was because Xiao Chen's comprehension of the saber technique's state of mountains had stopped growing. Furthermore, it showed signs of regressing. The state of mountains and clouds had completely collapsed. Wang! Xiao Chen saw Chu Chaoyun sitting on an exquisite round table made of ice. He was currently holding a cup of wine and drinking by himself. Xiao Chen was surprised, what's going on? My vision clearly swept across the entire hall. Why did I only notice this person after taking a second glance? The 10,000-year-old ice soul already possessed a very high level of spiritual intelligence and cultivation. It was no longer an ordinary piece of ice. Its combat prowess rivaled that of a martial sage. Chu Chaoyun filled his wine cup again and smiled faintly, heavenly flame. The heavenly flame that can burn the entire continent. Who knows, it might just be a joke. If it were that powerful, how could the Tianwu dynasty be destroyed? Xiao Chen was not too surprised. This was not the first time his spiritual sense was blocked. He withdrew his spiritual sense and went to the hall on the first floor with a calm expression. Xiao Chen pushed open the ice door of the cubicle and walked down the corridor, heading for the staircase. Xiao Chen habitually extended his spiritual sense out. However, he discovered that it was blocked by a formless barrier. It could only remain within 10 meters of him. There was a 9-story ice palace on the back of the ice bird. This was the famous profound ice palace of the Duanmu clan. Chapter 309. Fortunately, there was only a trace of this supreme will. If there were several times more, Xiao Chen would not even have the courage to fight, he would just end up prostrating on the ground. Looking at the swaying heavenly flame, Xiao Chen could not help but think of the dragon flame that he saw on Yingyu's body. Although the might of this strand of heavenly flame could not compare to that dragon flame, its aura was much stronger. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought, if wills can be infused into the heavenly flame, then can I infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire as well? A fierce purple flame started burning in Xiao Chen's right eye. When he looked around, it looked like a boundless sea of fire. The flames quickly gathered and formed a strand of purple flame. The purple thunder true fire's origin flame flew out of Xiao Chen's right eye and swayed on his fingertip. With a thought, the peak small perfection state of thunder instantly poured into the origin flame. Z. Z. Countless purple electric currents appeared behind Xiao Chen. The purple light immediately chased away the golden light from Chu Chaoyun's heavenly flame. Success! Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart as he thought excitedly, indeed, I can infuse my state into the purple thunder true fire. Now, I can finally fight against my heavenly flame. Before this, when facing the resplendent golden heavenly flame, Xiao Chen did not even have the courage to unleash the purple thunder true fire. Instantly, one side of the hall was filled with a resplendent golden light and the other side was filled with a strange purple light. The two lights clashed in an invisible manner. All the items on the ice table floated up when the two auras clashed. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, "You learn very fast. Let me try and see how strong it is." Right after Chu Chaoyun spoke, he thrust his fingers forward. All the golden light in the hall returned to the heavenly flame with a shwa sound. In an instant, that tiny strand of heavenly flame became extremely dazzling, like a miniature golden sun. That sovereign overlooking the world, the aura of supremacy, rose to its peak at the same time. A strong wind blew on Chu Chaoyun's body. His clothes fluttered, and his hair fluttered. It was like the Tianwu Emperor had possessed him, looking dignified and dignified. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He quickly gathered the scattered purple qi behind him into his origin flame. He brought out the state of thunder to its limits. A bolt of boundlessly resplendent electric light appeared in the strange purple flame. He pushed his right hand forward as well and met the attack without any hesitation. Bang! The two flames quickly collided and a loud bang rang out in the hall. A violent shockwave spread out and the items floating in the hall were immediately crushed into a pile of powder. The terrifying power reverberated in the hall, causing the entire profound ice palace to tremble uncontrollably. This startled everyone in the profound ice palace. Xiao Chen's complexion was somewhat pale. A huge force swept over and his body flew back 10 meters before landing heavily on the ground. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyun only took 3 steps back. Against an incomplete strand of heavenly flame, Xiao Chen's full-powered purple thunder true fire lost in a contest of strength. A golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. The scattered heavenly flame immediately vanished. Seeing the grave expression on Xiao Chen's face, Chu Chaoyun said indifferently, "Don't treat me as your enemy. Sooner or later, you will understand that our mission is actually the same." Qi! Qi! The profound ice palace stopped shaking. Suddenly, 4 streams of ice water appeared on the ice surface of the hall. The ice water slowly turned into 4 human-shaped blocks of ice. Then, they turned into 4 delicate and pretty girls. The two of you, if you test your moves in the profound ice palace for no reason again, no matter what your identity is, you will be thrown out of the profound ice palace. One of the girls said in a cold voice with an expressionless face. Seeing the other cultivators rushing down the stairs, Chu Chaoyun bowed slightly and smiled, "My apologies, there will not be a next time." The test between Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun was just a small interlude in the profound ice palace's flight. The huge profound ice palace continued to fly at Mach 2, heading for the ink forest. In a booth on the 2nd floor, Xiao Chen continued to try merging his state with the purple thunder true fire. The might of the legendary heavenly flame was indeed horrifying. The first time he merged his state, he could barely match the heavenly flame. Xiao Chen was already very satisfied, even though that strand of heavenly flame was not even a tenth of the true heavenly flame. However, Xiao Chen's purple thunder true fire had not reached its full potential. The purple thunder divine incantation had a total of 12 layers. Currently, he had only cultivated it to the 4th layer. If he broke through another layer in the future, he might have a chance to compete with the heavenly flame. When the sky turned dark, Xiao Chen noticed that the clouds outside the window had suddenly turned pitch black. This caused his mood to worsen. Xiaoqin stopped what he was doing and looked down from the window. He saw a huge mountain range that rose and fell endlessly. The entire mountain range was covered in a black fog, lingering around the peaks. When the cool breeze blew, the black fog seemed solid, not moving at all. "Is this the Ink Mountain Range?" Xiaoqin said with a grave expression. Rumble. Just at this moment, the entire profound ice palace started shaking. Although the tremors were not large, they continued for a long time without any signs of stopping. "We have encountered a large number of rank 7 flying demonic beasts in front. The profound ice palace will activate the combat formation. Everyone, please remain in your booth and do not move around. We will deal with it." A clear voice rang out in the ears of everyone on the second floor, explaining the reason for the tremors. "They are actually rank 7 flying demonic beasts," Xiaoqin muttered to himself. "A rank 7 demonic beast is as strong as a high-ranked martial king. I wonder how the Duanmu clan is going to deal with it. However, since the profound ice palace has activated the combat formation, I can go and understand it. Who knows, it might be helpful for the silver warship to recover its combat formation." Xiaoqin had an idea. He looked at the window in the booth that was just big enough to fit his body. He did not hesitate and pushed his feet off the ground. His body quickly passed through it. Xiaoqin flew forward. There was a rather large empty space between the head of the ice bird and the ice palace. Xiaoqin decided to go there and observe the profound ice palace's combat formation in detail. Xiaoqian's body turned into a purple arc in the air. When he landed, there was a so sound. Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, and the others arrived one after another. The few of them exchanged glances with each other, their gazes were somewhat unnatural. They did not expect others to follow them. Ji Changkong smiled faintly. "It looks like everyone is thinking the same thing. We all want to see what exactly is going on with the combat formation. In that case, let's go together." The powers behind the few of them all had 1 or 2 flying secret treasures. However, the combat formation was already damaged and could not be used. This would be an excellent opportunity to observe. A circular white barrier enveloped the profound ice palace in the air. Many flying demonic beasts rammed into the white barrier, bringing with them a sky full of black chi. Under the attacks of the demonic beasts, the profound ice palace trembled continuously. The light of the white chi barrier also started to weaken. Hua Yunfei, who was in the crowd, said sullenly, "Rank 7 demonic beasts are indeed horrifying. If we do not replenish this defensive formation with superior grade spirit stones, it will not last for long." Superior grade spirit stones? How could it be that easy to obtain them? "They will probably activate the combat formation soon," another heir of the royal court said excitedly. Boom! Right after he spoke, a resplendent ball of light suddenly condensed in the ice bird's beak. In the next instant, the ball of light expanded infinitely. It turned into a pillar of light and pierced through the chi barrier. It swept away all the rank 7 demonic beasts blocking the way, turning them into ice shards. Xiaoqin looked up and saw the mysterious expert on the top floor of the profound ice palace continuously making hand seals. As his hand seals changed, the ice bird quickly changed its position and shot out pillars of light. Everywhere the pillars of light passed, none of the demonic beasts could block them. They all turned into pillars of ice before shattering into countless ice shards. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! Rings of light appeared around the 3rd floor of the profound ice palace. These rings of light were made up of dense, mysterious characters that glowed. The countless characters moved rhythmically in the air, as though they were forming something. Finally, the mysterious person on the top floor shouted, "Break!" All the characters quickly gathered together. After a while, they formed small, lifelike ice birds. The ice birds cried out and immediately shot out. Countless ice birds crashed into the surrounding rank 7 demonic beasts. However, there was no reaction. These demonic beasts were immediately covered in frost. In the next instant, they turned into huge ice sculptures in the air. Bang! The person on the top floor of the profound ice palace controlled the huge birds to crash into the demonic beasts. The ice sculptures in front of them immediately shattered. When all the demonic beasts were dead, Xiao Qian and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They had not expected the might of the profound ice palace to be so great. They managed to kill hundreds of rank 7 demonic beasts in an instant. Xiao Qian muttered to himself, those mysterious characters should be the secret to carving combat formations. However, without systematic study, it is impossible to grasp such characters. After the demonic beasts were killed, everyone's field of vision immediately widened. Horrifying cries came from the front. When everyone looked over, they saw a large group of even more rank 7 demonic beasts. One of the people's expressions changed greatly. He said in horror, "The Ink Mountain Range has always feared flying through the sky. There was once an inferior grade martial monarch who tried to fly through the Ink Mountain Range. However, in the end, he had no choice but to retreat before the endless flying demonic beasts. Furthermore, he was severely injured. Although this profound ice palace is powerful, if the spirit stones cannot keep up with the expenditure, it will be dangerous." Right at this moment, everyone suddenly felt the temperature of the surrounding air drop by a lot. Furthermore, it continued to drop. Finally, that cold penetrated deep into their hearts. Everyone had no choice but to circulate their essence to resist it. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Boundless cold air appeared around the ice palace, and the golden runes became hazy in the cold air. Then, the mysterious person on the top floor let out a soft shout. Then, the mysterious person on the top floor shouted, all the cold chi gathered together and formed a huge ice image. When one looked carefully, this image was the figure of a woman. Chapter 310. The Ice Empress was more than 200 meters tall. The image encased the ice palace and a supreme aura pressed down. Everyone felt their shoulders sink, like a mountain was pressing down on them. This is the ancient expert Bing Ho. Just her aura alone is enough to make it hard for us to move. Everyone paled as they resisted the overwhelming aura with great difficulty. They had to clench their teeth to even speak. Hu Qi. Suddenly, an ice sword appeared in the Bing Ho's hand. A sword light swept out and a tear appeared in the space in front. The space shattered, and the destructive energy it brought tore apart the countless demonic beasts in the vicinity. With the Bing Ho's help, the profound ice palace was unstoppable in the sky above the Ink Mountain Range. None of the demonic beasts could stop them. After the huge image of the Bing Ho appeared, the profound ice palace immediately became unrivaled. The supreme aura of a sage suppressed the rank 7 demonic beasts. They did not dare to get close. The 10-odd people in front of the ice palace struggled bitterly under this horrifying pressure. Actually, one could see the strength of each individual here. A few of them were already prostrating on the ground, they did not even have the strength to stand up. There were also some who knelt on one knee, sweat dripping down their faces. Only Ji Changkong, Hua Yunfei, Xiao Chen, and one of the heirs from the royal courts remained standing. However, the expressions of the 4 of them were not relaxed either. If this dragged on, they would not be able to hold on for long. They would end up like the others, unable to stand up again after falling down. Xiao Chen quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. He condensed his aura into a single line, resisting the formless aura. However, the pressure on his shoulders did not decrease at all. The aura was as heavy as a mountain. His feet felt like they were filled with lead, he could not move them at all. Who? Just as the 4 of them could no longer hold on, a rectangular hole suddenly appeared in the ice palace. Duan Muking looked at everyone expressionlessly and said indifferently, quickly come in. When the doors of the ice palace opened, the pressure on everyone immediately lessened. Xiao Chen and the other 3 did not hesitate and quickly leaped in. A few of the heirs who were kneeling on one knee quickly pushed off the back of the ice bird and followed them in. The remaining 4 princes who were prostrating on the ground heaved a sigh of relief. Just as they struggled to get up, they realized that the doors of the Ice Palace had closed with a swoosh. The terrifying aura of the Ice Empress once again pressed down heavily like a towering mountain. Blood spurted out from their mouths as they fell to the ground, unable to get up no matter how hard they tried. The few people who entered the Ice Palace looked at each other with lingering fear. Even now, their hearts were still thumping non-stop. The experience just now was too unforgettable. There was a hint of anger on Duanmuking's icy face as he said in a deep voice, "I hope you will abide by the rules of our Duanmu clan and not walk around." This was not the first time Duanmuking had said this. However, because of their status and strength, they had not taken it seriously. They had thought that the Duanmu clan would not dare to do anything to them. However, now that they saw what happened to the 4 people outside, they no longer dared to underestimate these words. After Duanmu-kun left, Ji Changkong said indifferently, "The ancient era's martial emperor is just an image. Just its aura alone makes one unable to resist it. I wonder how strong it is." Hua Yunfei had a sinister smile on his face as he said, "I have a feeling that in this fiery sect remnant, all of us will end up helping this woman." Ji Changkong smiled in disdain, "What's wrong? Even the young master Hua who comprehended the ancient blood soul is afraid of a woman." Hua Yunfei smiled calmly, "Who is afraid of a woman? Everyone here is very clear on that. I heard that young Master Ji has not dared to go to the imperial capital for many years already." These 2 people had always been at odds with each other. Now that they relaxed, they immediately started teasing each other. The people from the royal courts all laughed softly. Naturally, they knew that Hua Yunfei was talking about Princess Yingyu defeating Ji Changkong in one move back then. Countless stars flashed in Ji Changkong's eyes. A murderous intent instantly surged out. However, it disappeared in a flash and his gaze quickly calmed down. Ji Changkong sighed in his heart, "It looks like in the past year, Hua Yunfei's mental state is much better than before. On the contrary, my mental state is somewhat imperfect." Thinking of this, Ji Changkong did not say anything else. He took the lead and went up to the 2nd floor. The others also left one after another. The rest of the journey was very peaceful, nothing else happened. The profound ice palace slowly descended to the core of the Ink Mountain range. Bang! The huge ice bird landed on the ground and created an intense whirlwind. It scattered in all directions, causing the surrounding trees to sway continuously. However, the image of the ice palace did not scatter. Under the pressure of the aura, the surrounding demonic beasts all fled in different directions. Even though they were demonic beasts, this kind of supreme aura caused them to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. After a long time, when all the surrounding demonic beasts had left, the image of the Ice Empress slowly faded away. The doors of the Ice Palace opened with a "so" sound. Under Duanmuking's lead, everyone slowly descended from the profound Ice Palace. As for the 4 people lying on the back of the ice bird, they were completely dispirited. They could only give up on this mission. 500 meters in front of the group, there was a towering mountain wall. Below the mountain wall was a huge black hole. It was like the mouth of a demon. With one glance, it would cause one's heart to tremble. This hole was the entrance to the ink forest. It was pitch black and there was no sound or movement, it was very quiet. Xiao Qin slowly paced on the black ground. He was not in a rush to observe the hole. Instead, he circulated his essence and discovered that the surrounding spiritual energy was very thin. It was only 1/100th of the usual. Most of the spiritual energy in the air was demonic chi from the deep abyss demonic world. If one breathed in too much, it would cause one's body to demonize. It looks like I can only use spirit stones to recover my essence, Xiao Qin thought to himself. Fortunately, I still have a lot of medial-grade spirit stones. There is no need to worry about this. I just have to be careful not to absorb the spiritual energy here. Duanmuking led the 4 peak martial saints of the Duanmu clan forward. As she said, she only brought 4 people. The other experts remained in the profound ice palace. The others were not willing to fall behind, so they quickly followed. Xiao Chen was slightly slower, he was at the back of the group. The moment Xiao Chen entered the hole, he immediately felt a cold current. The cold qi entered his body and attacked his internal organs. Xiao Chen was astonished. He quickly circulated his essence and protected his internal organs. At the same time, he split off some essence to quickly eliminate the cold qi that entered his body. They had to split their attention to protect their internal organs and eliminate the cold qi in their bodies. Like this, the speed of the group was much slower. The deep and serene cave seemed bottomless, it was pitch black. Everyone's vision was limited to less than 10 meters. What made them feel even more despair was that the many cultivators took out illumination stones, night pearls, and the things inside the flame stones. Normally, they would be able to light up a room. However, at this moment, they could not even give off a trace of light. Duan Muking's voice came from the front. He said indifferently, "There are no other dangers in this tunnel. All the light is absorbed by the demonic qi in the air. There is no need to panic." Xiao Chen looked carefully. Indeed, there were strands of black substance lingering in the air. When the light came in contact with it, it would be silently absorbed. It was very strange. Although Duan Muking said that there was no danger in this cave, Xiao Chen did not let down his guard. His right hand remained on his saber hilt. He withdrew his aura, ready to attack the moment there was any strange movement. No one spoke in this strange atmosphere in the quiet cave. Only the sound of footsteps could be heard. After walking for an unknown period of time, Xiao Chen felt that the tunnel under his feet was slanting more and more. They were already very deep underground. After a long time, the group's vision suddenly flashed. They finally walked out of the cave. A vast underground world appeared before their eyes. Before them was a boundless black forest. The forest was sinister and strange. Countless black fog lingered in the forest, and the roars of tyrannical beasts came from it. The roars reverberated in everyone's ears, causing them to feel frustrated and their qi and blood to surge. Unexpectedly, the roars of these beasts could disrupt their minds. "Is this the infamous ink forest?" a cultivator asked with a trembling voice. Duan Muking nodded and said, "That's right." The three holy masters laid a barrier around the periphery of the forest. "We are safe here. If we walk another 100 meters, we will enter the boundaries of the forest. Then what are we waiting for? Where is the profound ice flower? Let's go quickly." A scion of the royal court said anxiously. Duanmu Qing did not say anything else. She led the 4 experts of the Duanmu clan in first. The others followed behind in a line. When they broke through the formless barrier, Xiao Chen and the others felt a gaze on them. It was as though it could see through all their secrets. Bang! 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 Just at this moment, a red light appeared on the bodies of the 5 middle-aged men. After a while, they exploded, dying without a complete corpse. This sudden turn of events startled everyone. The 5 dead men were from the noble clans of the royal courts. At this moment, the scions of the royal courts all had sullen expressions. It was unknown what they were thinking. Duan Muking walked over to these people expressionlessly. He said coldly, "Didn't I say that we are not allowed to bring Martial King experts? The few of you can leave now. Go back to where you came from." Only now did everyone understand that these 5 scions from the royal courts had secretly brought Martial King experts with them. Furthermore, they had used some unknown method to fool the Duanmu clan's experts. However, in this ink forest, within the barrier of the 3 holy masters, there was nowhere for them to hide. They were blasted into smithereens. When the 5 of them heard Duan Muking's words, they did not pay too much attention. There were a few superior-grade martial saint servants behind each of them. In total, there were 20 of them. They had far more people than the Duanmu clan. Chapter 311. The leader smiled coldly and said, "Duan Muking, this is no longer the profound ice palace. Don't try to order me around. Since I am already here, there is no way for me to leave. You better obediently lead the way. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Ka. Right after he spoke, the 20 people behind him all drew their weapons. Killing chi radiated from their bodies as they stared at Duanmuking. Reckless. Duanmuking snorted coldly. White ice ripples appeared under the feet of the 4 girls behind him. Soon, the ice ripples connected and moved to Duanmuking's feet. Boom! Instantly, Duanmuking's aura soared infinitely. The feeling he gave off was that of a peak medial grade martial king. It was very horrifying. The leader's heart tightened. He felt the danger of death. He quickly said, "Attack! Chi! Chi!" Just as he finished speaking, the subordinates behind the 5 princes turned into ice sculptures in an instant. Duanmuking pulled his palm back and clenched his fist. Ka. Ka. All the ice sculptures shattered, they were all dead. Bang! 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 The ice fell to the ground and shattered again. The corpses inside were torn apart continuously. The 5 scions were so frightened that they turned pale. Their right hands, which were holding their sabers, started to tremble. Scram! Duanmuking said calmly. Killing 15 superior grade martial saints in an instant, the strength that Duanmuking displayed was too horrifying. Although the 5 of them were great perfection superior grade martial saints, they had not comprehended a state. They were only slightly stronger than ordinary martial saints. Compared to true geniuses, they were much weaker. When facing the current Duanmuking, they had no chance of victory. However, they were not willing to leave just like that. The leader of the scions looked at the Guyi Marquis with dissatisfaction in his heart. This was the true genius of the Guyi Marquis' residence. He hoped that the Guyi Marquis could put in a word for him. The Guyi Marquis, Ing Shao, wore golden battle armor and carried a 2-meter-long sword on his back. It was the sacred weapon, the sky-splitting sword. Behind him were 4 cultivators dressed similarly. When he saw this person's gaze, he turned his head slightly and avoided it, ignoring this person. With his last hope shattered, he could only give up. He packed up his weapon and left the place helplessly. Using the special secret technique of her martial spirit, she perfectly transferred the energy of the 4 people to Duanmuking. This instantly raised her combat prowess to peak medial grade martial king. Many people present had discerned the secret behind Duanmuking's sudden increase in strength, but they had to admit that even if they knew the secret, they could only temporarily avoid facing Duanmuking. In the face of absolute power, sometimes techniques were useless. Xiao Qin had a good experience with the Ice Empress aura. He is killing people to establish his might. When we find the profound ice flower, those people with ulterior motives will have to think twice, one of the scions sighed softly. The value of the profound ice flower was no less than those secret treasures or high-ranked martial techniques. This was especially so for ice-attributed cultivators, it was very useful. At that time, it was hard to guarantee that there would be people who would take advantage of the chaos to target the profound ice flower. Furthermore, there was a high chance of that happening. Duanmuking did not hesitate to offend the scions of the Guyi Marquis just because of a small excuse. Killing people was clearly a warning to the others. Xiao Qin even suspected that the Duanmu clan had purposely released these 3 martial kings to give Duanmuking a chance to establish his might. Duanmuking ignored the criticism of the crowd and said softly, "This profound ice flower is very important to my Duanmu clan. We have already waited for 100 years. Once we obtain the profound ice flower, I will immediately open the Firely sect remnant for everyone. Miss Duanmu, rest assured. We will not have any ulterior motives for the profound ice flower. Just lead the way. I am a fire-attributed cultivator. The profound ice flower will only bring me harm. Miss Duanmu, there is no need to worry. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be making things difficult for me, Sun Wei. I will help you kill them. Right, right, right. If anyone tries to snatch Miss Duanmu's profound ice flower, they will be our enemy. When everyone saw Duanmuking's strength, they all echoed her words, expressing that they would not make a move to snatch the profound ice flower. When Xiaoqin saw the situation, he smiled faintly and did not say anything. Naturally, they would snatch what they should snatch. There was no point in saying anything. Duanmuking said softly, "Many thanks for everyone's help. Come with me." After Duanmuking spoke, he started to lead the crowd into the dark and strange forest. There were all sorts of tall trees in the forest. Their branches were luxuriant, and even two people would not be able to wrap their arms around them. There were thick leaves and some black grass on the ground. When the crowd stepped on them, they gave off a rustling sound. In this infamous ink forest, no one dared to be careless. They focused all of their attention and carefully observed their surroundings. Pu Ci. Suddenly, a black snake as thick as a bowl emerged from the ground among the crowd. Its body was covered in a black qi. The densely packed scales on its body flickered with a metallic luster. With a shwa sound, it bit off the head of a cultivator from behind. It was like a black bolt of lightning flashing by. Its speed was so fast that no one could react. Qi! 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 There was no time to kill that black snake. In an instant, hundreds of similar black snakes emerged from the ground. Many cultivators were caught off guard and were bitten to death. There were also those whose arms were bitten. The poison immediately spread throughout their bodies, causing them to foam at the mouth. They were poisoned to death. Xiaoqin quickly dodged backward, dodging the attack of a black snake. He quickly drew the lunar shadow saber and chopped at it like a purple bolt of lightning. Dang! Dang! When the saber struck the black skin, it gave off a metallic sound. Unexpectedly, it only managed to cut off a few of the other party's scales. What a strong defense! Even with 20% of my strength, I am still unable to injure the other party. Xiaoqin was astonished. The black snake felt pain and its upper body soared into the air, heading for Xiaoqin. The black snake opened its mouth, revealing horrifying fangs that flickered with a cold light. Xiaoqin's expression did not change. He swung the lunar shadow saber again. Like before, he only used 20% of his strength. However, he accurately chopped at the place where the scales fell. In an instant, he chopped the other party in half. Hu Qi. The upper body of the black snake in the air had not died yet. It twisted its tongue and tried to bite Xiaoqin's face at lightning speed. Die! Xiaoqin shouted and the lunar shadow saber turned into a purple bolt of lightning. A saber light appeared on the saber and shattered the snake's tongue. The snake turned into clumps of black mist and scattered. Even until now, the threat of the black snake had not been resolved. Xiaoqin sent out a palm strike to disperse the black mist, resolving the problem. The others were not as lucky as Xiaoqin. Several cultivators had clearly chopped the black snake in half. However, they did not expect the black snake to have such a strong life force. Their upper body could still attack, and they died under the snake's jaws. There were also many people who appeared very relaxed. The Guy Marquis, who carried a sword on his back, did not even draw his weapon. He punched the black snake into pieces. Countless stars flickered around Ji Changkong's body, turning into sharp sword qi. The sword qi was incomparably sharp and easily chopped the black snake in half. Every time a star flickered, a black snake would die. In an instant, Ji Changkong had killed more than 10 black snakes. Hua Yunfei held a scarlet sword in his hand. He revealed a sinister smile as the sword pierced through the black snake, giving off a zzz sound. The black snake's body quickly shriveled up. It strangely absorbed all the black life force. After it absorbed the black life force, the red light on the sword became even more dazzling. The sword in Mu Yanxue's hand was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, she had sent out an unknown number of killing strikes. The black snake had just leaped into the air when she chopped it into countless tiny pieces. The scion of the Shiha province's Yen clan, Yen Qinha's big brother, sent out a huge black hand. It clenched tightly and pinched several black snakes together, preventing them from moving. Duan was even more relaxed. He did not even need to make a move. Those black snakes slithered around the four of them. Before they could get close, they were slowly frozen into ice sculptures. After a while, they turned into countless pieces of ice. Xiao Chen looked around for a while, but he did not find Chu Chaoyun. When he looked up, he saw that Chu Chaoyun had already leaped to the top of a large tree. Chu Chaoyun had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the people below. It was as though this matter had nothing to do with him. When the group finished killing all the black snakes, they counted the number of people. They discovered that the first wave of demonic beasts had killed more than 20 people. Including the people who died at Duan hands earlier, there were only 70 or 80 people left out of the original 100. This was a heavy loss. However, most of the people who died were the servants and subordinates of the scions. The truly strong outstanding talents did not even suffer any light injuries. The strength of the black snakes should be between medial grade rank 6 demonic beasts and peak grade demonic beasts. Aside from their large numbers and strong life force, they did not have any other trump cards. They could not truly threaten the group. After resting for a while, under Duan lead, the group continued on their way. Along the way, the demonic beasts they met became stronger. Aside from cultivators who comprehended states like Ji Changkong, the other scions also started to show signs of injury. The number of people also decreased by more than 60. Before they reached the Fire Li sect remnant, only half of the original number remained. Some people wanted to retreat. However, if they left the group and returned alone, that would be seeking death. The cruel nature of the path of cultivation was very real at this moment. If one was not strong enough or had a strong luck, they would become a stepping stone for others in the blink of an eye, coldly forgotten by others. Many living examples appeared before Xiao Chen. This made him even more determined to become stronger. He could not become a stepping stone for others. Suddenly, Duan stopped and pointed to a large tree in front. He said, "We have arrived. The profound ice flower is behind that tree. However, there is a rank 7 demonic beast guarding it. We have to kill it before we can pick the profound ice flower." A rank 7 demonic beast, everyone's expression changed. A scion said unhappily, "Duan, didn't you say that the profound ice flower is at the periphery of the ink forest? How can there be a rank 7 demonic beast? Are you messing with us?" Chapter 312. Duan said calmly, "I did not lie to you. This is indeed the periphery of the ink forest. I also did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts in the periphery. Indeed, Duan only said that the profound ice flower was at the periphery of the ink forest. He did not guarantee that there would not be any rank 7 demonic beasts at the periphery." There was no contradiction in Xiao Chen's words. No one could find a reason to refute him. The person who asked felt depressed, but there was nothing he could do. Ji Changkong said indifferently, "Duan, just tell us what kind of demonic beast it is and what its combat prowess is. If it is a regular rank 7 demonic beast, with so many of us, we should be able to defeat it." When Duan heard this, he said, "In that case, I'll be direct. The demonic beast guarding the profound ice flower is a peak rank 7 demonic beast, the Scarlet Flame Chief. Its strength is comparable to a medial grade martial king. The Duanmu clan has sent people here a few times, but they have not succeeded." Hua Yunfei frowned and said, "Since that is the case, did you make any preparations? Don't tell me that you are placing all your hopes on us." Duan nodded and said, "Half of the people that the Duanmu clan sent out previously died on the way here. The remaining people had their combat prowess greatly reduced. Naturally, they are not a match for this Scarlet Flame Chief. However, it is different this time. Among us, there are at least 10 people who are not injured. Hence, I only need the help of these 10 people." The remaining people just need to help chase away the demonic beasts that are rushing over. Hua Yunfei said indifferently, you speak so confidently. However, you have not said what is your trump card to defeat the Scarlet Flame Chief. Duan Muking revealed an indifferent expression on her cold face. She said softly, trump card. I am the trump card of this operation. Do you still have any questions? What bold words! Everyone thought to themselves. However, when they thought about it carefully, it was indeed as Duan Muking said. The Duanmu clan's special secret technique of combining their strength with their body could only be used by the princess. This was indeed a trump card. A strange light flashed in Hua Yunfei's eyes as he said, all right, I have no more questions. Now, which 10 people do you need help from? Everyone was curious when they heard that. Who were the 10 people that Duan Muking had mentioned who had not suffered any injuries and could still maintain their full combat strength? Duan Muking said softly, I hope that the people I choose will not reject my invitation. Only by killing this Scarlet Flame Chief will I open the doors to the Fierly Sect Remnant. Otherwise, you will have made a wasted trip. After saying that, she began to stare at the crowd and slowly called out a name, Chu Chaoyun, you have no reason to reject my invitation. Chu Chaoyun's expression did not reveal the slightest hint of surprise. He smiled indifferently and said, of course not. Ji Changkong, Mu Yanxue, Hua Yunfei, the Guyi Marquis, Ying Shao, Yan Qixue, Shi Feng, Sun Wei, you have no reason to reject my invitation, right? The 7 people that were called out did not say anything, tacitly agreeing to Duan Muking's invitation. These 7 people were either the proud disciples of the 3 great sects or the scions of noble clans that possessed inherited martial spirits. The crowd was not too surprised. There were already 8 people, and only 2 remained. The crowd started to wonder who else had not been called out. Suddenly, Duan Muking's gaze stopped at an extremely hidden corner of the crowd. The crowd followed her gaze and discovered that the person Duan Muking was looking at was Du Hao. The Du clan to the south could be considered a clan with some power. However, it was far from the 2 inherited noble clans, the Ji clan, and the Sun clan. Furthermore, along the way, they did not see anything outstanding about Du Hao. The crowd was very surprised at Duan Muking's choice of this person. Du Hao felt Duan Muking's gaze and smiled gently, Miss Duanmu, don't tell me you think that I am one of the 10 people. Duan Muking's gaze was like a pillar, as though she could see through the other party's disguise. She countered with a question, what do you think? Du Hao shook his head slightly. He was not willing to stand out at this moment. However, if he rejected, he would easily become the target of everyone. The Scarlet Flame Chief had to be killed. Otherwise, the crowd would not be able to enter the Fierly Sect Remnant. If he was unwilling, Duan Muking would use it as an excuse to not take action. The people that were called out earlier would definitely be unwilling as well. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they could only agree. Since Miss Duanmu thinks highly of me, I will reluctantly do it. Thinking of this, Du Hao could only agree to the other party's decision. There was still 1 person missing from the 10. The crowd followed Duan Muking's gaze again. Their gazes stopped at Shao Chen, who was standing in a corner. Shao Chen was not surprised at this. Without waiting for Duan Muking to say anything, he walked out. The others were not surprised at Shao Chen's selection. After all, even Sun Wei could be selected. There was no need to mention Shao Chen, who could easily defeat Sun Wei. When Duan Muking saw that the 10 people agreed, he said to the remaining 50, split into groups of 5 and spread out for a kilometer. Just don't let any demonic beasts get close to us. Duan Muking made such arrangements to prevent these people from taking advantage of the chaos to snatch the profound ice flower. They had to obtain the profound ice flower no matter what. Although the 50 people were unwilling, dealing with other demonic beasts was better than dealing with a rank 7 demonic beast. Furthermore, the Fierly Sect Remnant had not been opened yet. They could only listen to Duan Muking's arrangements for now. After a while, after the 50 people left, Duan Muking said, there is a mound behind that tree. The profound ice flower grows there. The Scarlet Flame Chief never left the profound ice flower. Xiaoqin looked in the direction Xiaoqin pointed. That tree was about a kilometer away from the group. The trunk would require 5 people to encircle it. The tree was several hundred meters tall. Its branches were lush, and its roots were intertwined. It was tall and straight, blocking the group's vision. Let me see what kind of demonic beast this Scarlet Flame Chief is. Hua Yunfei shouted ferociously. The scarlet sword in his hand suddenly gave off a blazing scarlet light. So! A sharp and surging scarlet sword chi flew at the tree quickly. The scarlet sword chi was like a sharp saber, easily chopping the tree in half. Rumble! The huge trunk of the tree landed heavily on the ground. The group's vision immediately widened. They finally saw the Scarlet Flame Chief. It looked very similar to the apes on Earth. It stood upright on the ground and was 8 meters tall. Its shoulders were broad and its body was strong. The muscles on its chest looked like small mountains of meat. Its entire body was covered in black fur. A deep scarlet flame burned in its eyes. The strangest thing was that it carried a 2-meter-long, palm-wide sword on its shoulder. On a mound behind the Scarlet Flame Chief, there was a crystalline, pure white flower blooming strangely. That should be the profound ice flower. The scarlet sword chi did not slow down as it flew forward quickly. When the Scarlet Flame Chief saw the sword chi flying at it, its lips curled up into a sinister and horrifying smile. The Scarlet Flame Chief used its left hand to slap the sword chi flying at it. With a bang, this incredibly sharp sword chi immediately vanished. It turned into strands of scarlet light in the wind and returned to nothingness. Hua Yunfei's expression changed slightly. He said in astonishment, "It is indeed powerful. It managed to smack away my blood fiend's sword chi with one slap. I wonder what kind of might it has when it uses its full power." Attack! Duanmuking shouted and immediately led the 4 Duanmu clan cultivators forward. Everyone followed after. To Xiaoqian and the others, a distance of 1,000 meters only took a few breaths of time. Soon, they arrived before the Scarlet Flame Chief. When they got close, the 10 of them could clearly feel the overwhelming aura of the Scarlet Flame Chief surging towards them. However, this aura was far inferior to the Ice Empress. Although everyone felt some pressure, it did not affect their combat prowess. Secret technique, ice condensation. Duanmuking snorted coldly. The black hair on her head suddenly turned ice-cold white. That cold and exquisite face completely lost all human emotions. It looked cold and emotionless. Everywhere her gaze passed, even the air was covered in frost. The 4 girls behind her quickly transferred their essence to Duanmuking. In an instant, Duanmuking's aura suppressed the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura. Frost Rage. From the start, Duanmuking did not hide his strength. Suddenly, a boundless cold wind blew under the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. As the cold wind blew, the temperature dropped rapidly. After a while, a visible white cold chi appeared in the wind. The cold chi spun around violently, creating a huge whirlpool. The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body struggled to move in the whirlpool, trying to break free. However, the surrounding temperature was too low. Furthermore, the intense cold wind blew. It could not break free from the center of the whirlpool. So, Duanmu Qing's expression turned grave. She clenched her fist and a boundless cold chi immediately gathered. It was like a block of ice was buried in the Scarlet Flame Chief's body with a ca-ca-ca-ca sound. After a while, the surface of the Scarlet Flame Chief was covered in ice, turning it into a huge ice sculpture. The Scarlet Flame Chief was instantly frozen by Duanmuking. This was somewhat surprising. However, no one thought that the Scarlet Flame Chief would die so easily. The Guy Marquis, Ying Xiao, took out the sky-splitting sword from his back and leaped into the air. The sky-splitting sword hacked down at the Scarlet Flame Chief's head. Everywhere the sky-splitting sword passed, ripples appeared in the air. The Guy Marquis' figure suddenly became blurry in everyone's vision. It was like a reflection in the water, swaying back and forth leisurely. The sky-splitting sword is indeed a complete holy weapon. Xiao Qian was astonished. He had seen the same scene in Mu Qingshue's Beauty Under the Moon. Naturally, he knew what was happening. Xiao Qian used the Daos contained in the holy weapon to change the laws of heaven and earth in the instant he made his move. This confused one's sense of space, causing them to lose their 5 senses. One might think that he was far away, but he was actually right in front of them. One might think that he was right in front of them, but when they swung their sabers, they would never be able to hit him. Ka Xie. Ka Xie. Strands of scarlet earth fire slowly rose from the Scarlet Flame Chief's feet. The ice on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body quickly melted. In the blink of an eye, it recovered its mobility. Gua Gua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. It swung the huge sword that it carried. Unexpectedly, there were blurry ripples in the sky. Chapter 313. The Scarlet Flame Chief was actually carrying a holy weapon on its shoulder. Everyone could not help but be astonished. A demonic beast carrying a huge weapon was already very strange. Furthermore, this huge weapon was actually a holy weapon. However, their eyes were immediately filled with desire. Sun Wei smiled coldly and said, "I want this holy weapon. No one is to snatch it from me." Sun Wei drew his sword and a setting sun appeared behind him. It shone on the sword, giving off a dazzling radiance. This was the Sun Clan's inherited martial spirit, Lonely Waning Moon. "Kill!" Sun Wei shouted. He did not wait for the results of the fight between the Scarlet Flame Chief and the Guy Marquis to come out. He leaped into the air and charged forward. When the laws of the world formed by the 2 holy weapons clashed, the entire space started to tremble at a visible rate. Everyone could feel a strange energy being transmitted over. When this feeling disappeared, Mu Ran suddenly realized that his body had unknowingly moved a few hundred meters to the side. His formation was completely disrupted. Sun Wei, who was in the air, had not reacted in time. The sword that he was sending at the Scarlet Flame Chief had actually chopped at Chu Chaoyun. Fortunately, Chu Chaoyun dodged in advance. Otherwise, if Chu Chaoyun was caught off guard and used his inherited martial spirit, it would not be good for him. The clash of the holy weapons actually caused the laws of space to become chaotic. Fortunately, the area affected was not large. If a real sage were to make a move, everyone present might have been transported to other places, and there was no telling if they would still be alive. Keng Chang. It was like the Guy Marquis' sky-splitting sword and the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge weapon finally clashed. There was a loud explosion and the Guy Marquis was knocked back like a cannonball. Bang! 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 The Guy Marquis crashed into many trees. He was knocked back more than 500 meters before he landed heavily on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief's tall and sturdy body moved back continuously. It did not take a single step back. A huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing it to tremble continuously. The Scarlet Flame Chief retreated all the way to the mound before it slowly came to a stop. Duan Muking said, "Don't clash head-on with him. The Scarlet Flame Chief is a demonic beast known for its strength. Even a superior grade martial king would find it hard to endure its true strength." When everyone heard this, they were all deeply shocked at the Guy Marquis' strength. The other party was able to knock the Scarlet Flame Chief back by 100 meters. How strong was he? Hu Qi. The Scarlet Flame Chief steadied itself and stomped on the ground, causing the entire forest to shake. Its body flew through the air and slashed at Mu Yanxue with lightning speed. It seemed that this Scarlet Flame Chief's eyesight and intelligence were extremely shocking. It could tell that Duan Muking was difficult to deal with, so it did not attack her first. Instead, it chose to attack the weaker Mu Yanxue, preparing to take them down one by one. Mu Yanxue's expression did not change at all. She leaped into the air and unsheathed her sword. Her speed was even faster than the Scarlet Flame Chief's. In the blink of an eye, she had already slashed out more than 100 times. Clang clang clang. When the sword struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's body, a metallic sound rang out. Mu Yanxue's attack was actually unable to break through its defenses. Dragon Seizing Hand. When the Shiha province's Yan clan scion, Yan Qixue, saw the situation, he shouted and executed the Yan clan's inherited martial technique. A huge black hand appeared out of nowhere. Yan Qixue clenched his fist and the huge black hand grabbed the Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body tightly, preventing it from moving. Mu Yanxue grasped this opportunity and her sword trembled. A light exploded out and quickly pierced towards the Scarlet Flame Chief's right eye. Gua gua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. Its ugly face revealed an incomparably sinister smile. Its scarlet eyes suddenly spat out 2 berserk flames. The ferocious flames instantly burned the surrounding air, making it difficult for people to breathe. Mu Yanxue was caught off guard. Clearly, she did not expect the Scarlet Flame Chief to have such a move. Her expression suddenly changed and she quickly retreated. However, the 2 flames quickly merged together. Their speed strangely increased, immediately surpassing Mu Yanxue's speed. Ice! At the critical moment, Duanmuking shouted and arrived before Mu Yanxue in a flash. His white hair fluttered in the air and his robes fluttered continuously. There was a trace of arrogance on Mu Yanxue's cold and frosty face. Unexpectedly, there was a trace of the elegance of the Ice Empress. Mu Yanxue pushed her right hand forward and a boundless cold wind blew. The cold wind rustled and the temperature plummeted. The flames that the Scarlet Flame Chief shot out were instantly frozen. Mu Yanxue closed his fingers and the ice immediately fell to the ground. Many thanks. Mu Yanxue thanked Xiao Chen and took advantage of this opportunity to quickly move away and land on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief shouted ferociously. Its aura spread out in all directions, causing the surrounding leaves to fall. A strong wind blew and the leaves danced in the wind. Bang! The black veins on the Scarlet Flame Chief's body bulged as it tried to push away the black hand. Yan Qixue's expression turned grave as he held on bitterly. However, after Yan Qixue shouted, the Scarlet Flame Chief's bones crackled continuously. Its body actually grew at a horrifying rate. It shook its arms and pushed away the black hand. Yan Qixue immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion was frighteningly pale. He stuffed a medicinal pill into his mouth and quickly retreated. Gua gua. After the Scarlet Flame Chief struggled free, it was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins. It laughed strangely and moved its legs quickly on the ground. With every step it took, the ground trembled slightly. Earlier, the Scarlet Flame Chief was able to send the Guy Marquis flying with one strike. Now that its strength was berserk, no one would be able to block an attack from it. With a thought, Duanmuking executed the State of Ice. Suddenly, snowflakes drifted down from the sky. With a thought, ice walls rose from the ground, blocking the Scarlet Flame Chief. This gave everyone time to attack. Bang! 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 The Scarlet Flame Chief's huge body was like a small mountain. Thick ice walls were able to block Xiao Chen's and Sun Wei's attacks at the same time. Now, when the Scarlet Flame Chief charged in, the ice walls were like breaking dead branches, breaking into pieces. The snowflakes drifted down even more intensely. The willow catkin snowflakes had already become the size of goose feathers. A thick layer of snow covered the ground of the mountain forest. It was like winter had arrived. Duanmuking finally brought out his State of Ice to its limits. Boundless wind and snow gathered. An even sharper ice wall than before soared into the sky. The Scarlet Flame Chief's unstoppable charge was finally blocked. Its huge body crashed into the tall ice wall and bounced back with a bang. However, before everyone could rejoice, the instant the Scarlet Flame Chief retreated, it swung its sword and broke the ice wall in half. However, Duan had achieved his goal. He had successfully delayed the Scarlet Flame Chief. Astral swordplay, eternal light. Ji Changkong shouted, and the entire mountain forest suddenly turned pitch black. Countless stars appeared above everyone's heads. In the distant starry sky, Ji Changkong's life star suddenly lit up. A resplendent light descended, falling into the 9 heavens. The instant the light landed, Ji Changkong held his sword in his right hand and swung it. Instantly, a sword light appeared. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to overtake its sharpness or break its radiance. The moment the sword light appeared, the starlight in the sky immediately dimmed. Under the illumination of the eternal light, nothing that gave off light dared to break its radiance. When the sword was drawn, the light illuminated the 9 heavens. The starlight dimmed. Only the light of this sword could be seen. This was the Ji clan's inherited sword technique, astral swordplay. After a year, Xiaoqin saw Ji Changkong execute this move again. It was just as breathtaking as before. This time, Xiaoqin saw something even more profound. The senior of the Ji clan who created this sword technique could only be said to be an absolute genius. Its aura was so great that it encompassed the entire universe. From Xiaoqian's point of view, although the might of this sword technique was startling, it was definitely not complete. The power of the heavens should be far more than this. Boom! The sword light was like a pillar. While Xiaoqian was thinking, it struck the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with a bang. A horrifying wound immediately appeared on the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. Black blood flowed out like a fountain. Everyone rejoiced in their hearts. They finally managed to injure the Scarlet Flame Chief for the first time. They saw hope for victory. Ice break! Duan took advantage of the opportunity and shouted. The snow and the air gathered continuously. After a while, it formed a huge ice bird. The ice bird spread its wings and let out a cry. It looked very lifelike as it rushed at the Scarlet Flame Chief, carrying a sharp cold wind. Under the baptism of the eternal light, the Scarlet Flame Chief was significantly injured. Its originally fast-moving body started to slow down. Xiaoqian's gaze was like a pillar. When he looked carefully, he discovered that this was not the case. It was not Ji Changkong's sword light that caused the Scarlet Flame Chief's movements to turn stiff. Instead, it was caused by Duan state of ice. At the start, the effect was not big. However, as time went by, especially after the Scarlet Flame Chief was injured, the effect became very obvious. Xiaoqian looked around and saw the 4 girls following behind Duan. At this moment, they were all standing in a corner far away. Ice appeared under their feet. Combined with some kind of mysterious secret technique, energy was continuously transmitted to Duan body. This caused the strength of her state of ice to increase continuously, reaching a horrifying level. Furthermore, Duan control over this state had reached a level where she could control it as she pleased. She placed all the pressure on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The others did not feel the pressure from her state at all. If it were not for Xiaoqian's deep comprehension of states, he would not have been able to see the mysteries behind it. The Scarlet Flame Chief was very intelligent. It quickly felt the mysteries behind it. It roared ferociously and a fierce scarlet flame started burning in its eyes. Boom! The huge sword in its hand lit up with a blazing flame. The flame was like a pillar with strands of black flames lingering around it. The flames of the Scarlet Flame Chief actually showed signs of turning into a demonic flame. The Scarlet Flame Chief did its best to leap forward and held the sword with both hands. The intense flames flew out and smashed the huge ice bird into countless pieces of ice. The instant the Scarlet Flame Chief shattered the ice bird, it stabbed the sword into the ground. Instantly, a scarlet flame with black smoke lingering around it appeared 10 meters around it. Xiaoqian stood in the distance and looked at this scene. He had a pensive look in his eyes as he muttered to himself, the flames blocked Duan state. No, not blocked, they burned it alive. Chapter 314. Unexpectedly, states could be broken in such a way. This was an eye-opener for Xiao Chen. It looked like if he met cultivators with strong states in the future, he could use this method as a reference. Gua gua. The Scarlet Flame Chief laughed strangely. It had completely recovered its mobility. Without the suppression of the state, the wound on its chest started to heal quickly. Rise! The Scarlet Flame Chief pulled out its sword and stomped on the ground. Its speed instantly reached the speed of sound. It instantly broke through the range of Duanmuking's state. The flames that soared up formed a flaming tail and gathered back on the sword. The Scarlet Flame Chief actually hacked down at Du Hao, who had not made a move yet. This sword carried a surging heat wave. The Scarlet Flame Chief held the sword with both hands. Its strength was even more horrifying than before. Even an inferior-grade martial king would be turned into a pile of mush if struck by this sword. It looks like this Scarlet Flame Chief knows how to pick a pushover. However, is Du Hao really a pushover? Du Hao, who was dressed in black and did not carry any weapons, looked at the Scarlet Flame Chief charging at him ferociously, moving faster than the speed of sound. Du Hao's expression turned grave, but he did not panic. Furthermore, he had no intention of retreating. If he retreated now, even if he dodged the attack, he would still be injured by the shockwave. With the strength of the Scarlet Flame Chief, even if it was just the shockwave, Du Hao would be significantly injured. Hu Qi. Just as the huge sword was about to land, Du Hao's left foot bounced off the ground. He leaped up gently and kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest with his right foot. However, the force of this kick did not injure the Scarlet Flame Chief at all. It did not even feel any resistance. Its huge body continued to fly forward quickly. However, the strange thing was that Du Hao's kick seemed to have some sort of adhesive force. It stuck to the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. After that, he pushed off gently and quickly leaped over its head, arriving behind the Scarlet Flame Chief. Ha! Without waiting for his body to land on the ground, Du Hao let out an explosive shout. His body quickly flipped and he kicked the Scarlet Flame Chief's back, creating a thunderous explosion in the air. The strength of this kick was so great that it caused the air to tremble. Countless leaves in the forest fell one after another and were immediately crushed into countless pieces. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. From the moment Du Hao jumped, turned around, and kicked, it was only the blink of an eye. However, his movements were extremely coherent. He leaped up and stuck to his opponent's chest, leaped over, and did a 180-degree horizontal kick in the air. It was as smooth as flowing water, completely natural and without the slightest flaw. The Scarlet Flame Chief, who was traveling at the speed of sound, did not expect such a sharp kick to its back. Xiao Chen's rapidly flying body could not stop at all. His center of gravity immediately became unstable, and his body shot forward like a cannonball. Bang! He hit the ground head first, creating a huge crater with a loud bang. Dust and dirt filled the air, and countless black clouds of dust immediately rose into the air. Du Hao's body landed firmly on the ground. His expression was calm, as if he had just done something insignificant. However, everyone was shocked in their hearts. The Scarlet Flame Chief, which even Duanmuking could not control with his extreme state, was actually easily toyed within the palm of his hand. This person is not simple, Xiao Chen thought to himself. This person looks ordinary, but he is not simple. Although Xiao Chen looked ordinary, he brought out his combat techniques to the extreme. He borrowed force to fight force, moving 500 kilograms with a little force. Boom! The Scarlet Flame Chief was thoroughly enraged. It leaped out of the crater and brandished its huge sword, hacking at Du Hao. Every time the Scarlet Flame Chief swung its sword, a ripple appeared in space. The Tao of the holy weapon was activated once again. When the people who had not made a move saw this scene, their eyes lit up. This was a holy weapon that could be used frequently. It was almost certain that this holy weapon was not severely damaged. The Tao of it was definitely very complete. It could be used so many times in the hands of a demonic beast. If it was used by them, it would be even more powerful. The change in the natural laws made Du Hao's expression change. The Scarlet Flame Chief's figure moved left and right, far and near. He could not figure it out at all, and danger surrounded him. Furthermore, Du Hao discovered that his movement technique was restricted as well. He clearly felt that he had advanced 10 meters, but in reality, he had only advanced 5 meters. Furthermore, his direction was very wrong. This was the might of a holy weapon. It contained the great Tao. It used the power of the sages to change the natural laws, disrupting the natural laws. In a battle, it would truly throw people into confusion. Du Hao's expression changed completely. He knew that if this continued, he would be struck sooner or later. With his defense, he would not have any chance of surviving the Scarlet Flame Chief's attack. Retreat. Taking advantage of the sword chopping down, Du Hao's expression turned grave. He smashed his palm against the tip of the sword. Using the huge force from the tip of the sword, he quickly moved back. In an instant, he moved 500 meters. After that, he landed firmly on the ground. His complexion was somewhat pale, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. There was too little time. In the end, the force contained in the tip of the sword was not completely resolved. This Scarlet Flame Chief will not be able to last much longer. It has not obtained the recognition of the holy weapon. It recklessly used the natural laws. It cannot endure the formless pressure of the heavenly Taos. The Guyi Marquis, who also possessed a holy weapon, spoke with a pale complexion. Earlier, he had forcefully clashed with the Scarlet Flame Chief. Even now, he had not recovered from his internal injuries. When everyone heard this, they looked carefully. It was indeed as he said. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body, which had previously swelled up, had become thinner at some point in time. Furthermore, its aura was much weaker than before. The sword wound that Ji Changkong left on its chest did not recover. Instead, it became more intense. The blood from the wound became even more horrifying. Blood kills the world, fresh clothes and furious horses. Setting sun and lonely soul, 100 battles startling deities. Earth-shattering and heaven-shaking, finger-piercing the heavens. Hua Yunfei, Shi Feng, and Sun Wei, who had not made a move yet, finally made their move after storing up energy for a long time. They executed the peak attacks of the inherited martial techniques without holding anything back. Instantly, all sorts of lights flickered in the forest, and a strong wind blew. The energies of the three inherited martial techniques merged together and surged in the air. Many trees were chopped in half at the waist, turning into countless pieces. Facing the three horrifying attacks, the Scarlet Flame Chief revealed a look of fear on its ugly face. It looked at the profound ice flower on the mound, its eyes filled with dissatisfaction. The huge sword swung up and changed the natural laws again, trying to block the attacks of the three. However, this time, when it was only swung its sword halfway, the huge sword in its hand went out of control and flew out. The natural laws shattered, and the Scarlet Flame Chief suffered a huge backlash. It vomited large mouthfuls of blood and became very weak. Bang! 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 There were 3 loud sounds as the attacks of the 3 landed on the Scarlet Flame Chief. The incredibly weak Scarlet Flame Chief could not withstand the attacks of the 3 inherited martial techniques. The Scarlet Flame Chief's body was badly mutilated. Black fiendish chi flowed out continuously. Its life force quickly faded. I, Hua Yunfei, want this holy weapon. Scram! The holy weapon is mine, Sun Wei's. Only I, Shi Feng, am qualified to obtain the holy weapon. Seeing the holy weapon fly out, after the 3 made their moves, they no longer cared about the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief. They immediately started to fight over the holy weapon, not giving way to each other. It had to be said that this scene was very ironic. The Gi Marquis and Yan Qishue were injured. Ji Changkong and Mu Yanshue had exhausted a lot of essence. Duan Yuking's attention was completely focused on the profound ice flower. The only ones who could continue fighting for the holy weapon were Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun, who had not made a move yet. However, the gazes of the two of them were not on the holy weapon. Instead, they were on the severely injured Scarlet Flame Chief on the ground. The Scarlet Flame Chief was a demonic beast that had started to comprehend demonic fire. Its demonic core was worth at least 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. The holy weapon was too eye-catching. Even if they managed to snatch it, they might not be able to leave safely. However, the demonic core was different. It did not have an obvious target. Furthermore, its effects were very direct. It was unlike a holy weapon. Even if one obtained it, one would need a long time to comprehend the Tao within. Otherwise, if one recklessly used the power of a holy weapon, the Scarlet Flame Chief was a good example. How could the laws of heaven and earth change so easily? The two of them exchanged glances. Their gazes were like swords clashing in the air. Their auras did not give way. They were determined to obtain the Scarlet Flame Chief's demonic core. Hu Qi. Suddenly, Chu Chaoyun made his move. He sent out 2 strands of sharp sword qi from his fingers. In an instant, he dug out the demonic core in the Scarlet Flame Chief's chest. The Scarlet Flame Chief cried out in pain. However, it was to no avail. It did not have any ability to resist. After the demonic core left its body, the scarlet flames burning in its eyes were completely extinguished. The purple demonic core burned with scarlet flames as it quickly flew out of the Scarlet Flame Chief's body. Chu Chaoyun stretched out his hand and a suction force immediately appeared, sucking the demonic core into his hand. However, Xiaochen did not give him this opportunity. He started circulating the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His speed immediately reached its peak and he caught up to the demonic core that continued to fly. Bang! Just as Xiaochen caught the demonic core, Chu Chaoyun arrived. He used his palm as a saber and chopped down on Xiaochen's wrist. The purple demonic core immediately left his hand and flew high into the air. Bang! 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 The two of them immediately leaped into the air and exchanged moves continuously. Punches and palms flew back and forth, energy flew everywhere. In an instant, they exchanged dozens of moves. The intense wind blew the purple demonic core higher and higher. Boom! Suddenly, a golden light flashed in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. He immediately shot out a strand of golden flames at Xiaochen's face. Xiaochen quickly used the purple thunder true fire to resist. Bang! The heavenly fire scattered the purple flames. However, the golden flames continued flying towards Xiaochen. Helpless, Xiaochen could only land and quickly dodge. Sorry, this demonic core belongs to me, Chu Chaoyun smiled gently and leaped into the air again. It looked like he was about to grab the demonic core. After Xiaochen landed, he did not panic. He instantly activated the windwalk shoes and his speed reached the speed of sound. Just as Chu Chaoyun was about to succeed, Xiaochen turned into a beam of purple light and flashed by. Chu Chaoyun turned into a beam of purple light and flashed in front of Chu Chaoyun. When the purple light vanished, Chu Chaoyun clenched his fist but found nothing. Without any hesitation, Xiaochen quickly tossed the burning demonic core into the universe ring. He did not give Chu Chaoyun any more chances. Chapter 315. Dong! 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 Urgent footsteps came from all directions. The people in the periphery had sensed that the Scarlet Flame Chief's aura had disappeared and were rushing over. After Chu Chaoyun landed, he saw the crowd rushing over. A strange look flashed in his eyes. Finally, he shook his head and gave up on the fight for the demonic core. This was not the time to fight yet. The truly good things had not appeared in the Fire Li sect. If both sides were injured, it would only benefit the others. It was not worth it for a demonic core containing an inferior-grade demonic flame. Hua Yunfei split apart Sun Wei and Shifeng with his sword. Then, he grasped the huge sword firmly and laughed, "This holy weapon is mine." Sun Wei and Shifeng combined were not a match for Hua Yunfei, who had comprehended the ancient blood soul. In the end, he was more skilled and managed to snatch the holy weapon. Ka Xie. Ka Xie. However, just as he finished speaking, the huge sword began to shatter into pieces. After a while, only the hilt was left of the huge sword, which was still as good as before. Hua Yunfei was completely stunned. He said in disbelief, "How can it be like this?" Sun Wei and Shifeng were both stunned as well. Then, they laughed loudly. "Hua Yunfei, it looks like you are not fated to obtain a holy weapon." Ji Changkong said indifferently, "This holy weapon was not maintained properly and was used carelessly. Furthermore, it has been around for too long. It is normal for it to be damaged." Hua Yunfei's face flushed red. He was extremely angry. He had not expected that the holy weapon that he had obtained after so much difficulty would end up in vain. This was the same situation as in the ancient remnant. He had just snatched the sky-splitting sword, but the holy weapon automatically recognized him as its master. The Guy Marquis obtained it for nothing. Trash! Hua Yunfei shouted angrily and threw the sword hilt to the ground. The sword hilt rolled to Xiao Chen's feet. Xiao Chen glanced at it and saw that the sword hilt had cracked. There seemed to be something in it. He glanced at Hua Yunfei and saw that he had given up on the sword hilt, so he picked it up. Looking at the crowd that had gathered around him, Zhang Xian did not immediately open the sword hilt. Instead, he quietly kept it in his bosom. Has the Scarlet Flame Chief been killed? Did Duanmuking get the mysterious ice flower? When the 50 people guarding the perimeter arrived, they immediately asked. The people present pointed to the Scarlet Flame Chief's corpse on the ground. The result was obvious. Thud thud thud. 4 ice walls suddenly rose up from the mound. The ice walls quickly connected together to form a square-shaped ice palace, enveloping Duanmuking's group of 5 tightly within it. Duanmuking is really cautious, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Things have already come to this point, yet he is still worried. Everyone's gazes immediately gathered over. Someone said, "I heard that the mysterious ice flower can only be completely plucked using a very special method. I wonder if Duanmuking has grasped this method." Another person smiled and said, "What special method?" As long as he cultivates the mysterious ice incantation to the 10th layer, he will be able to easily pluck the mysterious ice chi transformation stage. This is not a secret, it is just an inherited martial technique. Others cannot practice it. The mysterious ice incantation is a peak earth-ranked cultivation technique. Could it be that Duanmuking has already cultivated it to the 10th layer? That is too horrifying. It should be true. Ever since she was defeated by Xiao Chen in Savage Forest, she has entered into a state of bitter cultivation. Her cultivation has increased at a terrifying rate. I wonder where that Xiao Chen is now. Duanmuking swore that if she does not defeat him, she will not inherit the position of the Duanmu clan's princess. After waiting for a long time, everyone started to feel bored. They started to chat about the Duanmu clan. As they chatted, the topic actually shifted to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was speechless. He thought back to the day when he snatched away Duanmuking's space on the heaven-soaring platform. Duanmuking said to him, "Even if some things are yours, even if you take them away, you will spit them out." It looks like I have really become her heart demon, Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. Xiao Chen was her heart demon. Ji Changkong, the Guy Marquis, Hua Yunfei, and the others were his heart demons as well. A large part of the reason why Xiao Chen accepted this mission was because he wanted to see for himself how strong these people were. After all, it was difficult to gain a concrete understanding just by relying on Fatso's side of the story. It was better to see for himself before he could truly understand. If he did not truly defeat these people, Xiaochen would not have any thoughts of leaving the great Qin nation. This would leave an eternal regret in his heart, preventing him from cultivating his mental state to consummation in the future. Look, Duan is coming out. Quickly get her to open the fiery sex remnant, someone with sharp eyes quickly said. They saw the squarish ice house slowly melting. Duan and the others quickly walked out. The profound ice flower on the mound had completely disappeared. Hua Yunfei said sullenly, Duan, you have already obtained the profound ice flower. You can open the fiery sex remnant now, right? Seeing everyone's anxious gazes, Duan said calmly, as you wish. Xiaochen opened his hand and a boundless frost covered the mound. The specks of frost were like stars as they entered the mound. After a while, it turned into an ice mound. Boom! Duan clenched his fist tightly and the ice mound immediately exploded with a bang. Countless ice shards scattered and fell to the ground. The original mound disappeared and a dark hole appeared. The hole was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. A cold wind blew out from it. This is the entrance to the fiery sex remnant. I have already obtained the profound ice flower. According to the agreement, I cannot enter the remnant, so I will take my leave first. After Duan spoke, he immediately turned and left. Immediately, there were people who could not endure it any longer. They rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, just as they reached the entrance, someone suddenly shouted, Duan, you cannot leave. If you leave, the profound ice palace will follow. Do you want us to cross the Ink Mountain range? Indeed, if Duan left, the profound ice palace would definitely follow. Could it be that after they left, they would have to return through the core region of the Ink Forest? Although it was much less dangerous to travel on the ground than in the air, there was still the risk of death for the fatigued group of people who had just left the Ink Forest. Nothing could compare to the safety of riding the Duanmu clan's profound ice palace. There was no need to worry at all. Going to the profound ice palace meant that they would be safe. Everyone reacted and quickly agreed, right, Duan, you cannot leave. Wait for us outside. You can leave only after we come out. Duan raised his eyebrows and looked coldly at the person who spoke, since when can you order me around? I have already fulfilled my agreement. The fiery sex remnant is underground. Everything now has nothing to do with the Duanmu clan. Ji Changkong looked at the bottomless hole before looking at Duan. He said, how about this? Duan, we do not know if this fiery sex remnant is real or fake. How about you come with us? Given this, it was equivalent to the agreement that Duan had made before he came to not enter the fiery sex remnant. However, Xiaochen could not blame Duanmu for this. Duanmu did not break her promise. She only used a trick that was not easy to see through. Xiaochen smiled coldly to himself, it looks like it is as Hua Yunfei said. Duan might have taken advantage of everyone's actions this time. However, this also proved that the fiery sex profound ice palace was real. There was no need to waste time here. The Duanmu clan's profound ice palace was not very attractive to Xiaochen. It would not be a problem for him to walk out of the Ink Mountain range with his own strength. Even if he wasted some time, he would not mind it too much. He could just treat it as experiential training. Suddenly, Xiaochen's gaze fell on Chu Chaoyun. He discovered that Chu Chaoyun had already reached the edge of the hole. Xiaochen no longer hesitated and silently followed. Hu Qi. While everyone was in a stalemate, Chu Chaoyun and Xiaochen suddenly jumped into the hole. They were the first to enter the fiery sect remnant. Who are these two people? Why are they so fast? Let's go quickly. Otherwise, all the good things will be snatched away by them. Damn it! Don't bother so much. We should hurry up. Fortuitous encounters do not wait for anyone. Chu Chaoyun and Xiaochen's actions immediately broke the stalemate. Many people no longer cared about how to leave. They all rushed to jump in. Only a few of the calmer people did not jump in rashly. Instead, they waited for Duanmuking's reaction. Not to mention the problem of retreating, going down without any understanding of the fiery sect remnant was not a wise move. Since Duanmuking was able to discover the fiery sect remnant, he definitely had a better understanding of the fiery sect remnant than the others. Furthermore, he had the profound ice palace to back him up. There was no need to worry about breaking through the Inkly sect remnant. Clearly, following Duanmuking was the wisest decision at this point. Although they were unwilling, they had no other choice. Duanmuking muttered to himself for a while before saying, "It does not matter. I can accompany everyone to verify the authenticity of the fiery sect remnant." Xiao Chen's attitude indirectly hinted that everyone would have a chance to leave with the profound ice palace. Sometimes, there was no need to be so direct. It was fine as long as everyone understood. The few of them each harbored their own thoughts. Under Duanmuking's lead, they slowly jumped into the deep hole. Wang! Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun landed on the ground at the same time. The two of them exchanged glances and ignored each other, focusing their attention on the scene before them. Chapter 316. In front of the two was a simple bronze door. 2 oil lamps hung on both sides of the door. Purple flames flickered in the oil lamps, slightly illuminating the surroundings. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, "Interesting, the oil lamps are actually still lit." A huge 3-legged cauldron was carved on the door. There were dragons and phoenixes carved on the cauldron. There were 4 soaring white clouds above the cauldron. This was the first time Xiao Chen had seen white flames, so he felt it was strange. The door was tightly shut, giving off a strong sense of history. An ancient aura assaulted their faces. Dong! 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 The sound of people landing resounded. The other scions and cultivators landed one after another. Then, they immediately swarmed to the bronze door. In an instant, Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun's figures were buried in the crowd. When they saw the carvings on the bronze door, many people sighed in amazement. It really is the fiery sect's remnant. The 3-legged cauldron is the fiery sect's cornerstone treasure, the Dragon Fear Cauldron. The purple clouds on top of the cauldron should be the lunar true flame. This branch hall has 4 lunar true flames. It looks like its position is not simple. Yes, the fiery sect's main hall has 9 lunar true flames. The other branches are divided into 8 ranks based on the number of flames. There are 4 flames here. At the very least, it should not be the worst. Ha ha! It looks like Duanmuking did not lie to us. However, how does this door open? Can it be pushed? These people were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Many of them had ancient books in the libraries of their clans. There was no lack of knowledgeable people. They immediately understood the meaning of the carvings on the bronze door. However, when they saw the tightly shut bronze door, they did not dare to push it open. The fiery sect was best at forging secret treasures. Forging secret treasures required the study of formations. It was hard to guarantee that there were no formations on the bronze door. Trying it rashly would just be seeking death. A young expert from the Dongming province stepped forward and said, "Let me try." This person wore cultivator robes of alternating blue and white. He had thick eyebrows and large eyes. He was 16 meters tall and had a stocky build. The muscles on his chest bulged like small hills. He carried a thick saber on his back. It was obvious that he was an expert in hard body techniques. He's Wen Yanbin. It's said that he's the #1 physical cultivator in Dongming. Even without using Yuan Qi, he can reach 15,000 pounds of force with one palm strike. This bronze door is at most 5,000 kilograms. This person might be able to open it. Furthermore, without using essence, it might not cause the formation to rebound. Everyone recognized Wen Yanbin and hurriedly invited him forward. At this time, someone was opening the door, so everyone was naturally happy. When Yanbin stretched out his right hand and gently placed it on the door on the left. He slightly rubbed it, then switched to the door on the right and rubbed it. Seeing that nothing out of the ordinary had happened, Zhang Xian calmed down slightly. He took a deep breath and quickly retracted his right hand. Then, he slammed his palm against the bronze door. Bang! The entire underground space began to shake, but the bronze gate did not move at all. There was no movement at all. Again. When Yanbin roared, and the muscles on his right arm doubled in size. He continuously smashed at the bronze gate. Bang! 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 The continuous loud sounds reverberated throughout the underground space. The huge force was transmitted to the ground, causing the surroundings to shake. Rocks kept falling from above. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. There was no movement at all, not even a small opening appeared. How can it be like this? There is no movement at all. Could it be that there is no way to open this bronze gate? The crowd exclaimed in astonishment. The continuous attacks caused Wen Yanbin's complexion to turn somewhat pale. This was how physical attacks worked. At least 30% of the force that struck the opponent would be reflected back to him. Each of Zhang Xian's palm strikes contained no less than 5,000 kilograms of force. When the rebound force accumulated, it was already a threat to Zhang Xian's meridians and internal organs. Seeing that there was still no movement, Wen Yanbin made up his mind. A ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's right palm became larger. He clenched his fist and punched out ferociously. When Wen Yanbin punched out, even the air exploded. This punch contained his full strength. It contained 10,000 kilograms of force. Bang! There was a loud explosion and the huge force rebounded. The internal injuries that Wen Yanbin had been suppressing erupted. He vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back. The entire space shook for a long time before it slowly stopped. However, there was still no reaction from the bronze gate. It did not even open a crack. Seeing Wen Yanbin sitting on the ground with a pale complexion and circulating his qi, everyone could not help but feel anxious. Someone said, since we cannot open this door with brute force, there should be some sort of mechanism. Open it. I don't think so. Perhaps his strength has not reached a certain level. Perhaps he can use his essence to test it out. Duan Yuking is here. Let her take a look. As the crowd discussed intensely, Duan Yuking, Ji Changkong, and the others slowly walked over from the back of the crowd. At this moment, no one said anything about an agreement. The most important thing was to open the gate. Duan Yuking's appearance gave everyone hope. Everyone gave way, opening a path for Duan Yuking to walk to the front. When Duan Yuking saw everyone's eager expressions, there was no change in his expression. It was just like before, cold and beautiful, without a trace of the mundane world. Duan Yuking slowly walked forward and arrived before the bronze gate. Then, he inserted his hands into the two pillars on the left and right of the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. His fingers dug in deeply. The Dragon Phoenix Cauldron had 3 pillars, one on the left and one on the right. The third pillar would only merge when the 2 doors were joined together. What's going on? When the crowd saw this, they were confused. The bronze gate weighed 5,000 kilograms. How could it be inserted so easily? When the crowd looked carefully, they discovered that Duan Yuking had not used brute force to insert his fingers. Instead, it was the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron's pillars. There were originally 5 finger holes. However, because of the light and the carvings, it created an illusion. It was easy to overlook them. Creak. Duan Yuking gently pulled with both hands. The bronze gate that had troubled the crowd for a long time, the one that Wen Yanbin could not push open even with his 10,000 kilograms of force, easily opened. So this door is supposed to be pulled, not pushed. I've had this feeling for a long time, someone said after realizing it. Wen Yanbin, who was on the ground, had already recovered. He was so angry that he nearly vomited blood again. When he heard this, he thought about his earlier actions. They were extremely foolish. A majestic hall appeared in front of everyone's vision. Wind blew under their feet and they all entered. There was a corridor in the center of the hall. There were many stone pillars at the side. An armored warrior stood in the middle of each pillar, holding a sword in his hand. When Xiaochen looked around, this place did not look like it had been damaged at all. It was like thousands of years had not affected this place at all. Xiaochen touched the stone pillar. The stone pillar was smooth, without a speck of dust. It was like someone cleaned it regularly. At the end of the corridor was a scarlet throne. A golden armored warrior sat on it. 2 silver armored warriors stood on both sides of the throne. They wore silver battle armor and had silver sheathed swords at their waists. Xiaochen looked at the golden armored warrior. The golden armored warrior was clad in golden battle armor and wore a golden mask. Its eyes were empty. However, its gaze gave off an incomparably deep feeling. It was clearly an inanimate object. It seemed somewhat contradictory. After Xiaochen probed it, he discovered that it was really an inanimate object. It was filled with all sorts of metal parts. So he withdrew his gaze. This should be the main hall of the Firely Sect's branch hall. I should go to their refining room and the library to take a look. The good things should be there. Xiaochen thought to himself. He looked around the hall, searching for other paths. The 50 or 60 people all had excited expressions on their faces as they rummaged around, hoping to find something useful. It would be even better if it was a secret treasure. These armored warriors might be combat puppets unique to the Firely Sect. I wonder if they can still be used. A few years ago, the Linlang Pavilion in the imperial capital auctioned one and sold it for a sky-high price, someone from the royal court said. When they heard this person say that, the others quickly stopped what they were doing and rushed to the armored warriors in the hall. Some went to retrieve their swords, some wanted to remove their helmets to take a look. Pu ci. Pu ci. Just as the crowd was inspecting the armored warriors, all of them moved. The surrounding people were startled and quickly scattered. Ka xie. All the armored warriors drew their swords at the same time. Sword lights flashed as they quickly attacked the surrounding people. They can still be used. We are going to be rich this time. These armored warriors are so complete. They can definitely be sold for a sky-high price, the cultivator from the royal court who spoke earlier said excitedly. When the crowd heard him say this, their fighting spirit immediately rose. They charged at the 20-odd armored warriors. The armored warriors were at the level of an inferior grade martial saint. They could send out dim sword chi. However, because they were wearing armor, they did not have any life force. They were impervious to weapons and could not feel pain. Despite having the advantage in numbers, the crowd was unable to subdue these armored warriors in a short period of time. Because Xiaochen was standing further away, he did not receive any attacks from the armored warriors. Furthermore, there were very few armored warriors. Every armored warrior was surrounded by 3 or 4 cultivators. The scene was somewhat chaotic. Xiaochen could not be bothered to join in on the excitement. He returned his gaze to the golden armored warrior on the scarlet throne. The 10 people fighting with the Scarlet Flame Chief and Duanmuking had not made a move yet. Their gazes were also on the 3 combat puppets on the scarlet throne. There was no reason for it. The combat prowess of the armored warriors was not high. The 10 of them did not care about them. Since they had come to a treasure trove, their standards were naturally much higher. Hu Qi. Aside from Xiaochen, the 11 of them made a move at the same time. They pushed off the ground and quickly flew towards the scarlet throne. All sorts of lights were released. It was very beautiful. Wang. When the 2 silver-armored warriors beside the throne felt the auras of the 10, their empty eyes lit up with a scarlet light. They suddenly came to life. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.